We're live, everybody. What's going on? Glad to see y'all made it today. Left. Um, yeah, so a lot of people talking about Thanksgiving already. Pretty good, mostly good week this week. I've had some issues, but it's been a good week. Got to hang out with two groups of friends. Had a Thanksgiving on Sunday, Thanksgiving yesterday, and so I don't really. I'm not. I'll talk about this more in the stream, but I'm not a big holidays guy. I'll just leave it at that for now. But it was nice. It was nice to hang out with some people and spend some time and enjoy the days. Um, where are we at here? So just give a shout out off the bat to all the awesome channel members. We got 6 now. We got 7 people up in the stream right now. Good to see y'all here. Hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving. We'll get that all out of the way. And I've got lots to talk about as usual, but feel free to steer it in any direction in the chat. You never know where things are going to go if you start putting things in the chat. And these live streams are basically the what's going on with Adam's crazy life. Formerly homeless, who knows what's next, and we'll see where it goes. Do you miss Jamestown, New York yet? Never did. I never liked it when I was there. So no, can't miss something that you never loved. And heard they got 9 inches of snow yesterday. I definitely don't miss that. It was a little chilly here. The cold air in Houston is driving me a little crazy right now because of my car problems. And, well, the weather in general, because the weather just won't cooperate at all. In order for me to fix the car problems, the weather has to be cold. But the weather only turns cold on the days that I need the car or that the garage isn't open. So we'll talk about that a little bit. That's the thing driving me crazy. But I don't run out of things to talk about. Blue Sky, I'll get to that, the heater trick. I had to try something new today. So we'll see. Don't have an answer on whether that'll work yet, but I'll get into why in a few minutes. You will notice this was brought up in the Google and YouTube have been making some UI adjustments to YouTube, and I think most of them suck. There's a couple that drive me crazy. Whenever I go to save a video to a playlist, you can only click once, and then the playlist window closes. And if you want to save it to 2 different playlists or you make a mistake, it ends up being a big mess. And they've made a lot of other UI adjustments I'm sure that you're aware of. And another thing that they did was instead of your chosen YouTube name on things like the chat now, it's going to be your YouTube screen name, your handle. As you'll see in the chat, Blue Sky is no longer Blue Sky. She's Blue Sky 7704. Why they did that, I don't know. Everybody in the YouTube meeting that I was in last week was pissed about it. They all hate it. But, big company like that, they don't care. That's what they're going to tell you. These software companies, I'm kind of glad. Yeah, that's why John S. is now John SILDR 1. It's crazy. I don't know. I just think it's dumb. And they're doing a lot of software companies. I'm kind of glad. I would take a job working with a software company as a UX designer, especially a UX design lead, if it was offered to me. But at the same time, I absolutely hated my life when I was doing that work because company you'd all know the name of. I was a lead designer on a team of 60 people. I had a team of 5 that reported to me. So you have 60 design experts and usability experts who know how to design something that people like. And not only that, we're vetting these designs with actual customers and interviewing them and asking them questions and finding out what the actual customers prefer. And so we'll put together something that would make the customers happy. And then the company will just say, oh, fuck that. We're just going to build this piece of trash. And they throw away. So it's like it's a useless job because you know what's best. And I mean that you know what's best. A team of 60 people I was on, all 60 of us knew what was best. That's why we were there. But the company will just, Team India wants to build some half-assed piece of garbage. Team India is going to get their way because, according to the company, it'll cost more to do it right. And our argument is it costs more when you do it wrong and people abandon the company and go to your competitors who are doing it better. But, don't listen to the people that know what they're talking about. And that's kind of why I'm just glad to be out of that crap, because YouTube, Facebook, all these big companies just butcher the user experience of their apps and make it so that everybody hates using them. But they're too big to care. They're like, we're the biggest, we can do what we want. Who cares? If they don't like it, they can go choke on a dick. And then everybody, people are leaving Facebook. People are leaving Instagram. They're dead. They won't completely die, but they're not viable anymore in terms of growing an audience. They're just dead in the water because they completely destroyed the user experience, and not just the design of the app, but with all the censorship and all the woke bullshit and everything that they did, the pay to play. Everything that they've done is completely destroyed they shot themselves in the face and destroyed their own stuff. So, YouTube will go down in flames at some point. I wish there was something else. I wish there was somewhere else to go. I'm never going to be a fan. Anything to do with Google, I can't stand. But like I said, Blue Sky, your username, your name on your channel probably still says, let's take a quick look. I'm sure if you go to YouTube, so what I'm talking about, your name is Blue Sky. That's what would normally show up in the chat, what we're looking at here. That name that you gave yourself, you can choose your own @handle as well. But if it's already been taken, then YouTube will stick a bunch of numbers on it. And then your job would be to create something different and try again. Some people just take what they're given. For me, I'll sit there for 3 days trying to find a handle that's not something 1197324 or whatever. I'll sit there for days trying to come up with something that's just me. Lit Good was available all of a sudden when it wasn't before. So my channel, I changed the handle to @LitGood, but the other one still works in the URL. I don't know how long it will, but I think it's pretty good. It's what I wanted to change everything to, but it just wasn't available when I went to grab this a long time ago. But now it is. Somebody must have given it up, disappeared. But normally in the chat, I would be Adam B in the chat. But now if I'm going to go to the online chat, in fact, I'll do that right now and post the Amazon link. If you want to support this channel and you're going to buy something from Amazon, it is Black Friday. Pin that. If you click on that Amazon link at the top of the chat, I'll get like a penny or two if you buy something from them, and it costs you nothing. So we'll leave it at that. But you'll see that now my handle is @LitGood instead of Adam B's when you chat. And everybody hates this. Everybody hates this. There wasn't a single person in that chat with the YouTube brass that thought that was a good idea. Everybody hates it. So, but I can pretty much guarantee that they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to, they just don't care about you. They don't care about me. They just don't care. There may be a legit reason to use the handle instead of the name because you can type in whatever name you want, but a handle is associated with you specifically. But you can change your handle too, so it doesn't really matter. I don't know. Bad decision. I'm just another reason I'm glad I don't work for these tech companies anymore because it's a miserable experience. It paid a lot of money, but I hated every minute of it. Hated it. I liked the money, but at the end of the day, I would shut my computer off, walk away, and not care one lick about that company or anything that they were doing because I just felt like I was being paid to talk to a brick wall all day. And not just me, pretty much anybody who is a user experience designer will tell you the same thing. We all hate it. We're treated, but oh my God, I could just go off too far on that direction, and we don't need to. So good to see you all. Once again, we'll go there. These weekly streams are just the Q&A, like what's going on with Adam. And I do have some ideas of what I'm going to do to move the channel forward in capacities that I'm actually capable of right now in terms of how much time I don't have. Whatever you guys feel like you're going to talk about in the chat, I'll join in. But otherwise, I don't run out of things to talk about. I should have. This is kind of like, I never have a problem thinking of something to talk about. I should have started a random podcast back in the day. There's a podcast I used to listen to a lot, not so much anymore. It's called the Survival Podcast, and it's a guy named Jack Spirko. And he started this podcast while he was driving in his car to a job. He had a daily commute that was over an hour each way or something like that. And he just used a digital voice recorder of some kind, turned it on, and would just talk into the microphone while he's driving and upload it as a podcast, talking about survivalism and stuff like that. But he would just talk. I even listened to some of his, when I found out about this, I listened to some of his early shows because they were all available to download. And it definitely had a different vibe to it because eventually this podcast grew to the point where he has, it's every day of the week, at least weekdays. I don't know about weekends, but at least 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours long, I believe. And he had 50,000 listeners a day, every show. And his YouTube channel right now is about 66,000 subscribers, but because I went and checked him out while I was thinking about this today. But it kind of goes to show like what you can do starting out simple and what it can turn into, because what it turned into was a podcast where he has guests come on. It's professionally done. He's got a theme song, music and all that, but it's a podcast at its heart. It's radio. It's not video. But he constantly has good guests on. He has lots of sponsors for the show. He made it. That was he turned that into making a good living. And I mean, probably a multi-million-dollar living. And all started with an idea that he had to take a digital voice recorder and talk into it on his way back and forth to some job that he didn't like. Because he was sitting in the car for an hour anyway, talking to the mic, upload it. About that simple. Maybe I'm sure he edited or something. Editing audio is pretty easy, but that's how he did the podcast. Quality, the audio quality, everything was like dirt poor, like just bottom of the, just whatever you can do. Kind of like that before and after of the Simpsons slide that I showed you a few weeks ago. It started out really poor, but the quality ramped up over the years and it became a big thing. fact, I just went to his I just went to his YouTube channel, and there was a video titled "From Prison to a Multi-Million Dollar Business" right in front of me. It was one of the headlines on one of his short videos, and I'm like, well, I gotta click on this because I've been talking about this for weeks. So there's a guy, I mean, it was a short video, so I don't know, like it was like a YouTube short, 2 minutes long, talking about a guy named John Willis. I don't know anything about him. He went to prison, and then he came out of prison. He had already been making tactical gear or something like that before he went to prison. So he came out of prison. He already had that experience. He basically just started reaching out to all of his suppliers and just networking the crap out of himself, taking whatever scraps he could get to get back into his tactical gear business. And he was working multiple part-time jobs while he was, fresh out of prison. He lost everything. This is all what I gathered in a 2-minute view. So I'm going to look into this in more detail to talk about at another date, because I think maybe it's a guy I could have on. A guy who, this is exactly what I'm talking about, is how to go from losing everything and going to prison to putting your life back together and not only thriving, but this guy, he's worked himself back into owning a multi-million dollar tactical gear business. And he hustled his way back. So you can do it. If you can come back from going to prison and losing everything you had, winding up homeless, all the stuff that I've been through, if I can come back from that at some point and be wildly successful, more successful than I was before I went to prison, then anybody can. Like anybody can, because anybody else is not going to have all of these black check marks next to your name when they look you up on Google. So if I can figure out how to do this, then everybody can. Like it can't be impossible. Yeah. So I don't even know what to talk about. We were up to 10 viewers in a minute ago. Right now, we've got 9 viewers, and according to, we got 10, so that fits right in. So we got 10 viewers on the live stream right now, and I'd like to announce that our live stream now is more popular than the Hawk Tua girl. She was doing a live stream recently, and she couldn't get any more than 9 people to watch. So we got 10. We are now officially more popular than the Hawk Tua girl. But you know how I keep talking about how, like I just talked about, if I can go to prison and come out of prison, and if I can go to prison and come back out of prison and make myself successful, there's no excuse for anybody to not be able to do it themselves. It'll be all in your own mind if you can't do it. Hawk Tua girl, I wanted to know, how much did this chick make in her 15 minutes of fame? And it's not publicly confirmed, but reports indicate that she earned a lot of money from merchandise, paid appearances, social media, and her estimated net worth when I moved to Houston at the end, in the winter of 2024, was about $500,000. And it significantly fluctuated because of her cryptocurrency scam that she was attached to. But this chick made $300,000 in the first month after she went viral, just from merchandise sales. And she had an agent register the trademark Hawk Tua. So I could probably get sued for putting her trademark on my video for all I know. She earned $65,000 within 2 weeks. She was paid $30,000 for a single appearance at some nightclub in Florida. And she's making like tens of thousands of dollars every time she shows up at some event, at least during her 15 minutes of fame. She had a talk podcast, Talk to a. She sold her X account for 300 grand. So all I'm saying is, I talked last week about how if a cat can become a multi-millionaire, an angry cat, this cat made $200 million. A cat is sitting there, forget Fancy Feast, right? This cat's eating filet mignon every day. And all these old washed up people at Walmart is working as Walmart greeters aren't even making enough money to afford to eat cat food, while a cat is eating filet mignon living in a mansion every day. So don't tell me I'm full of shit whenever I'm trying to say I'm going to find my golden ticket. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what train is going to leave the station with my golden ticket as the destination, but I'm fine. I'm going to find it. Here we have a girl who made 500 grand in one summer. In one summer, talking about blowjobs. She made 500 grand to talk about blowjobs. I was homeless when this dumb bimbo got famous. And in the time it took me to find a place to live and find myself a $10 an hour job, this bimbo made 500 grand. So I thought I was sharing my screen, not. So here we are. Boom. Octua. She made 500 grand. And, there's a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, she could go on OnlyFans. She could make tons of money from that. I know somebody said they want to hear about my car here in the chat. I'm getting there. We got 2 hours. And I always go more than 2 hours. So I got nowhere to be tonight. I did all my stuff before the chat. So, we're good. It mostly seems like fairy tale stories, like winning $1 billion in the lottery odds are. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, some of the things I'm talking about are definitely, she just happened to be at the right place talking about blowjobs at the right time. And she made 500 grand in a summer. And who knows where that, she got 9 viewers on her live stream last week or something. Somebody called it out. And here it is. She was on Twitch or something like Talk to a with Haley Welch. She had 9 watching while she's playing some video game or something like that. And her 15 minutes probably ended 20 minutes ago after she got wrapped up in that whole cryptocurrency scam that sank her ship. But anyway, but I keep saying, there's a lot of people out there who keep telling me to just shut the fuck up and be happy working at some bakery for $10 an hour. And, I'll go out on a limb and say, I think sometimes, not everybody, but sometimes, I think some people mean well, but sometimes people just want to see me fail. It's the reason why they kept coming to the channel when I was homeless. In fact, I know that's part of the reason why my channel fell off a cliff when I moved to Houston, because I wasn't homeless anymore. And, there were a lot of people, thousands of people, hoping that they were about to see me living under a bridge, sucking dick for crack money because I was homeless on YouTube. And then when that didn't happen, they're just like, I'm peacing out. That's boring now. I don't want to see a guy who got his act together. Nobody goes to watch NASCAR races to see cars go around in a circle. They go to watch cars crash and cars catch on fire. That's what they're there for. Don't tell me they don't. If there were no car crashes in NASCAR, nobody would show up. So, but I talk about this, and I already know I'm going to get a bunch of blasts and comments. But you got these people with this whole, I call it the blue collar mentality, but it's probably not the right term. Because blue collar you can be an electrician and you can make $1 million a year owning your own electrician business. There's you could be an auto mechanic and make tons of money. What I mean when I say this, I don't know, maybe there's a better term, but it's the just shut up and do what you're told and never strive to do anything better mentality. I mean, that doesn't roll off the tongue as quickly, but that's what I mean when I say that. So sometimes I think, people think they're being helpful by telling me to stop doing the side hustles or chasing after some lottery ticket. Just go all in on the bakery and stick with the safe and stable job. And I'm like, first of all, nothing's guaranteed. If you're a cashier at 7-Eleven, that's just as volatile of a job as someone making 6 figures per month on YouTube for a living. That person on YouTube is just one cancellation away from losing everything. I've seen it happen. I've seen people get really big on YouTube and then all of a sudden get canceled because they said the wrong thing and they lose everything. You can lose your cashier job just as much as you can lose your cashier job just as easily as you can lose your YouTube job or your business or anything else. You can always lose your job at any time. Doesn't matter whether it's a minimum wage job or you make $300,000 a year. You can lose your job. You never know what's going to happen. I could lose my bakery job due to no fault of my own at some point in the future. Business might be too slow and they might shut, there's an option down the road somewhere they might close. I don't know, what's going to happen there, but it could happen is all I'm saying. And I could lose my job and it wouldn't even be my fault. But, there's a lot of factory worker types out there that exactly, Blue Sky, you need lots of multiple streams of revenue. And that's why I'm like, I'm more content right now playing this long game of not making so much money. I don't have an income stream right now that I can live on, but I have like 5 or 6 income streams right now, and they all add up to me being able to live. And if you shut one off, it would suck. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be homeless. I could still survive and try to find another way. But there's a lot of, the factory worker type who just comes in, punches the time clock, goes home, watches football, drinks beer, gets back up and does it again the next day. And they don't want to do anything else. And they'll come up with some funny thing to say like the boss makes $1 and I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time. And I'm telling you, I've seen this meme from so many like low income, blue collar factory workers, cashiers, grocery store clerks, fast food workers. I've seen it many times in my life posting this on social media. And I'm just like, maybe if making the choice to poop on company time or doing it on your lunch break instead is something that you actually need to think about during your day, then you definitely made a wrong turn somewhere in your life. Why not go be the boss who makes $1 while the employees make a dime, and then you can just poop whenever you want and you don't got to worry about going to take a dump. I cannot. Like I said, I've been seeing this meme for over 20 years before we even knew what a meme was. And so I've seen this a bunch of times. I've seen it posted by my friends who got stuck working in like grocery store jobs when they were 40 and stuff like that because they never did anything. And they post this and I'm like, why are you, if you could take all that energy you spend worrying about making 50 cents to take a dump instead of doing it on your lunch break, you could be doing something else to make it so you can go poop whenever you want, still get paid for it, I mean, I worked as a software designer in an office. And even whether I was working from home or working in an office in downtown Pittsburgh, if I had to go take a dump, I could go take a dump. It wasn't some decision I had to make about whether I was going to be paid $1.50 to take a dump or do it for free during my lunch break. I mean, I could get up off my desk and go to Starbucks in the middle of the afternoon for no reason. I wouldn't have to tell anybody. It wasn't like I had to report to a babysitter or something, and just I could go disappear for half an hour, go shopping, do whatever. Nobody cares. As long as I get my work done on time, nobody cares. If I have to be in a meeting, well, then I'm at the meeting. If there's some sort of stress ball, all hands on deck situation where we all have to bust a move to get something done on time, then I'm not going to be going out to Starbucks for half an hour or whatever. But even in that situation, if I got to go take a poop, drop a number 2, I can just be like, look, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. You know, nobody's going to tell you can't go poop. And if you work at a job, like, I mean, I know Jeff Bezos at Amazon, they got Amazon employees taking a pee in water bottles because they're not allowed to go to the bathroom, for crying out loud. And that's just, I mean, if that's where you ended up, all I'm saying is I could end up there, but I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to just be like, well, that's the best I can do and just accept that as my fate. I'll do what I got to do until the day I don't have to. But I'm planning every day that I won't be working at a job where I got to worry about when I can take a poop. It's not it. So Hawk Tua, she made 500 grand in the same summer that I was homeless. I was homeless all summer. This girl made 500 grand talking about blowjobs all summer. Like, come on. If she can do it, anybody can do it. But when people are like talking about me staying at the stable job, do you know how long I would have to work at the bakery making $10 an hour in order to earn $500,000? If we calculate $10 an hour working 40 hours a week, I'd make $400 a week gross, and that's working 40 hours a week. That's $20,800 per year. And so at that pace, it would take 24 years to earn $500,000. 24 years busting my ass for 40 hours a week. When I'm 74 years old, I'll have earned as much as the Hawk Tua girl did in one summer talking about blowjobs all summer. But I will end up flat broke with nothing at the bank, eating nothing but cat food and ramen noodles because nobody can survive on $20,000 a year. So you're talking about, yeah, she the reason why she only gets 9 people on her video streams now and her 15 minutes of fame ended an hour ago is because she scammed everybody with the crypto scam. But before the crypto scam, she made 500 grand in a summer. So she probably still has money in the bank left over from that. She probably still hasn't gone out to get an actual job. Especially if she lives at home with her parents or who knows what. I mean, all I'm saying is I can make enough money in a summer. I mean, if I was a chick, a dude, that's a little harder to pull off when you're a guy. But if I could make enough money in a summer to buy a nice house, talking about blowjobs for 3 months until my 15 minutes of fame runs out, at least I'd have a house at the end of the summer. But anyway, but if I stay at the bakery, making $10 an hour, working 40 hours a week, if that's what I chose to do, it would take me 24 years to make that same amount of money. And how long would you burn out? I'd be 74 years old. Do you think I could do that until I'm 74 years old? On Monday this week, I spent 9 hours straight first unloading a delivery truck full of 50-pound bags of flour and 50-pound boxes for the first 4 hours of my day. And then I spent 5 hours straight banging out over 600 pie crusts. And I never got to sit down once during the day. I never got to take a break. The only time I got to sit down was when I went to poop on company time. Just like I was talking about. That's the only time I got to sit down was to go take a dump. And I stretched that out. It was like a 20-minute shit. pooping on the company dime. But I'm supposed to get a half-hour break, so technically that was my break. So I didn't poop on company time. I didn't even get my whole break that day. So I came home from lifting 50-pound bags all day and banging out 600 pie crusts. And when I got home at 6, I fell asleep at 7 p.m. And then I woke up in the middle of the night around 11 p.m. in excruciating pain from just the muscle aches and stuff from all of that. So, I mean, do you think a 74-year-old dude is going to be able to do that job for 24 years to earn as much money as a 20-year-old whore made in a summer talking about blowjobs? No, I wouldn't even be able to do that for 24 years. And so that's all I'm trying to say. There's no excuse to not accomplish your dreams or reach your goals other than the limitations you have in your own mind. And I've known this my whole life. That's part of the reason why before I was arrested, I was a little bit successful. I mean, not as successful as others, but I was doing fine. I was doing just fine. And it's because I didn't let my mind limit what I could do all the time. There were definitely things that I would let my own mind tell me I couldn't do. YouTube was one of them. I wanted to do YouTube. I had a recording studio set up for it. I had all the stuff that I needed for it. And my own mind just kept telling me don't put that video up. It's not perfect. Don't do that. It's not perfect. So it was kind of like that. I just let my own expectation and standards of perfection get in the way of me doing something. Perfect is the enemy of done. And I've always had a hard time with that my whole life. So that is my mental way of holding myself back from certain things, is just because I don't want to do it if it's not going to be perfect. And so I've had to learn to move past that and just do stuff and not care as much. As a photographer, there's no excuse not to accomplish your dreams and goals other than you, but there's also going to be circumstances that aren't in your control. And I've talked about this more than once. As a photographer, you can't take a photo of a sunset if the sky is cloudy and overcast when you get to the sunset spot. It's just not going to happen. Jesus said that I can pick up a mountain and throw it into the sea if I had the faith of a mustard seed. But I don't even know how to make the clouds go away or to wipe the chemtrails out of the sky so that you can see the sun when it goes down for the day. One or the other, overcast or the sky can be crisscrossed with chemtrails and it ruins the sunset photo. But I still won't give up. If I show up to take a sunset and the sun's not there, I'll try to find something worthy of taking a photo of with my camera. Whatever I can find. Sometimes it's kind of like just let the force take you where it wants to go. Let the river take you downstream to where you're going. Like just ride the ride and see where you end up. I've had a lot of really good photos come out from doing that. Whereas a lot of people would show up to take a sunset picture. They'd walk out of the car, look around. Oh, there's going to be no sunset. Damn. Put their camera away and go home. I'll stay and I'll shoot something. I'll find something. Believe me, I'll find a rock. I'll take a picture of a rock or something. It don't matter. You never know what you're going to see. You never know what you're going to do. Like, go walk around the woods where you're at and you might find some crazy ass insect or something, that like some big old millipede or a big giant snail or something. I mean, I'm just giving you examples of things that have happened where I wouldn't have seen the big giant snail or the millipede that's 10 feet long if it weren't for the fact that the sky was overcast. So you might end up with something better than what you showed up to get. I always say have a plan, but be aware that you might just throw your plan away. I'm watching the Star Wars saga from beginning to end. And you know how many times the Jedi or whoever it is, they have a plan, they go in and They just have to throw the plan away because it all goes to shit. And then they just have to figure out how to accomplish the mission, even though nothing went according to plan. But they had a plan. They didn't go in without one. And I think it's important to make a plan, but don't be mad when the plan can't be executed the way you thought it should. So, since I moved on a little bit from talking about blowjobs for cash and into more of faith, let's talk about my favorite book once again. Ooh, no, don't hit that button. Let's talk about Jesus Calling. And I'll talk about today, November 28th. I've got lots of stuff to talk about with the entries of the book this week. Rest in the deep assurance of my unfailing love. Let your body, mind, and spirit relax in my presence. Release into my care anything that is troubling you, so that you can focus your full attention on me. Be awed by the vast dimensions of my love for you, wider, longer, higher, and deeper than anything you know. Rejoice that this marvelous love is yours forever. The best response to this glorious gift is a life steeped in thankfulness. Every time you thank me, you acknowledge that I am your Lord and provider. This is the proper stance for a child of God, receiving with thanksgiving. Bring me the sacrifice of gratitude and watch to see how much I bless you. And so it is Thanksgiving week, and you never really know what the date of Thanksgiving is going to be. It could be, any of the last half of November. So the author of the book, Sarah Young, every single entry for the last half of November is going to be about Thanksgiving. We know what that is. We know why. But it doesn't mean it's not relevant to all the year long, right? So this car thing, you're asking me about the car. It's grinding me hard right now. This car is really under my skin right now. It's warm. The car works fine. But then every time that the garage is closed and I need to drive the car, it gets cold again and the car starts flaking out. And so I knew this week was going to suck. I knew this week was going to suck really bad. Sunday, it was okay. I had to go to a gathering, but it was late in the afternoon and it warmed up to almost 70. So the car was okay from what I recall going to the gathering. And then on the way home, I didn't have any issues either. Monday, I think it was okay because it was warm. Wednesday was a little bit haywire. Now, let's see. We'll talk about, I'll get into more details in a minute, but Wednesday was a little bit haywire. Wednesday, I was able to go into the bakery, but it got so cold while I was there at 10 o'clock at night. When I went to go home, my car wouldn't start. So now the people that I worked with know that I'm going through this. So they were waiting for me. It's like I would have got a ride. I would have had company while I'm waiting for a AAA tow truck. I had some friends hanging out with me. So I had to pop the hood, disconnect the battery clamps, touch the battery clamps together for about 10 seconds, reattach the battery clamps, and then the car started and it didn't flake out on the way home. So, got home. And then Thursday, Thanksgiving, the next day, the car flaked out again, all the way to my friend's house. The dashboard and error messages, I'd have no functional dashboard at all. And just the usual, the stuff that it's been doing. And so I get to my friend's house, and anyway, I was fixated on this all the way to my friend's house for Thanksgiving dinner yesterday, and I'm pissed off. I am so fed up with this car. I'll never buy another Volkswagen again. just because of this one issue. This one issue is so bad that I could never bring myself to buy another VW for the rest of my life just because of this problem. I won't do it. I've had other vehicles that had like tons and tons of problems that said, oh, okay, I'll never buy another GM again. I'll never buy another Ford again. This is just one problem on one car that's convinced me to never buy another car from that company again. But I still haven't been able to take it to the garage because the weather won't cooperate. Every time the garage is going to be open and I can take it, it's going to be 95 degrees outside. So there's nothing I can do except. So anyway, but this kind of like reminds me of what I just read to you in today's entry, the part where we're talking about every time that you thank me, you acknowledge that I am your Lord and provider. This is the proper stance for a child of God, receiving with thanksgiving. Bring me the sacrifice of gratitude and watch to see how much I bless you. So one of the things that I'll do when I'm really like getting irritated about stuff is I have 10 fingers if you count the thumbs, and I can sit there and just come up with 10 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come up with 10 things to be thankful for, and like a little kid, just count them on your fingers as you do it. And so I did that on my way to my friend's house. I was still about 10, 15 minutes from his house, maybe 10, doesn't matter. I just came up with 10 things, and it was fast. Like it was no time at all to come up with 10 things. And 2 of the 10 things were, I'm grateful that I have a friend to go hang out with today, and his whole, their friends were there, and it was a full house, and it was nice. And that was my second Thanksgiving dinner of the week. So I'm making friends. I'm grateful for all that. And I'm still grateful that I'm doing it in a car. The car's driving me crazy, but if it wasn't for the car, I wouldn't be able to go, or I'd have to ride a bicycle or get a ride from somebody or whatever. So there's still something to be grateful for there. And so I did that, and it lifted the anger and the frustration away from me as I did it, just like it would say. And then it got cold while we were at dinner. And so a few hours, I didn't stay late because I kept looking at my phone to see what the temperature was outside, and it's dropping and dropping and dropping, and it's finally getting close to 50 degrees. And I know if it goes below 50 degrees, I'm screwed. So I was like, I'm going to take off. I mean, I would like to hang out with you guys longer, but I'd been there for like 5 hours. So it wasn't like, it was still a nice time to hang out with everybody, but I packed it up and I was like, all right, I got to go. Car issues. And the car started right up with no problems, no errors, no issues all the way home, even though it was 20 degrees colder when I went home than it was on the way there. So I don't know what to do about it. I got home, I watched some more Star Wars, and I went to bed feeling good overall. I got to spend a couple of nights with my friends this week. Both times I didn't want to go because of the car trouble. And I'm just like, I just don't want to be dealing with having to call AAA and all that nonsense on a holiday. But I decided to do it anyway. I'm like, you know what, God, I'm just going to go. We'll see. I trust you. And it all worked out. But tomorrow, I got to go to the bakery. And the weather is going to be cold enough in the morning to make my car flake out. Guaranteed, tomorrow morning, not going to be able to start the car. And then Monday, it's supposed to be so cold that my car won't start before I go to work, and it definitely won't start when I come home from work. Guaranteed, it won't. So what do? I'm going to talk about some of the things I've been doing. So the first thing I tried, I've got one of these jump starter blocks, this thing here, and it's a jump starter, but it's also got a pretty powerful battery. I've got 2 of these in my car, and it doesn't just jump start your car, but you can plug things into it. And it's got a little receptacle on the side there where you see that output 12 volts. there's an adapter for it, so you can plug in anything that would plug into a car's cigarette lighter adapter, your standard 12-volt outlet cigarette lighter port in your car. So I bought this $20 heater from Amazon that plugs into a 12-volt power outlet. And my video in the corner is blocking it, the picture of the plug, but you know what I'm talking about, the standard plug. Well, you can see it over here in the small picture, one of those car outlet plugs. And it got delivered on Wednesday, 15 minutes before I had to leave to go to the job. So I didn't get a chance to test it. But I knew it was going to be cold at 10 o'clock at night. So 9:30, I go out to my car to plug in this heater into the battery. The power outlets on the car won't activate unless the ignition is turned on. So I can't plug it into the car's power outlet. So I had to try and use this little battery thing that I've got. Well, the battery isn't powerful enough to run that heater. As soon as you turn the heater had a low and a high setting, and the low setting of the heater blows out cold air. It's like a fan. It doesn't do anything. The high setting actually blows out some heat, but the only way I could get the high setting was to plug it into the car and turn the ignition on. And I'm like, I'm not doing that because it'll drain my car battery super fast. And I just needed it to run for 20 minutes. It would have probably made the inside of the car warm. So I couldn't use it. And so I tried for a few minutes. I couldn't use it. It didn't work. All right, fine. I went back into the bakery. I come back out at 10 o'clock, go to leave. The car won't start. But it only took about 5 minutes to fiddle with it and to get the car to start. And I was able to drive home. All right. But now I'm panicking because now I'm like, because I know Saturday and Monday especially, Monday is going to be a nightmare with this. And so that's where I'm like, what do I do? So I decided to get another portable heater. It's a low wattage portable heater that plugs into a standard wall outlet, a 110 outlet. A little bit more powerful than the heater I just bought, but only about $5 more. And then I got a portable solar generator on a Black Friday deal on Amazon that this will run on. And you'll see that it has a cigarette lighter port, but that cigarette lighter port on this portable power supply will not power that heater that I bought. So I had to get a different heater that plugs into the wall outlet on here. And so I bought this, but it's not going to be here until Sunday. But according to calculations that I used AI for, this heater, and I watched some YouTube videos with almost the same combination of this specific heater and these power supplies, I could probably get it to last about an hour and a half to 2 hours on this battery before it drains the battery down. So I can keep that in my car now when I go to work. Half an hour before I leave the bakery, plug in this heater, turn it on, warm up the inside of the car. It should get warm enough to be able to drive home. But what's that going to do in the morning? So I went to Home Depot today because I still have to do this tomorrow morning. This stuff's not going to be delivered now until Sunday. If I had ordered it earlier in the day, it would have been delivered tomorrow. But I wouldn't be here to get the delivery. But it'll be here on time for Monday. And I'll still be able to test it out a little bit, make sure it works, make sure everything's charged, etc. I'm taking this car heater back. I've already got the return set up. So I'll probably stop on Monday. I'll probably stop sometime next week, take it back. I'm not going to take it back until I know. I'm not going to make the return until I get something that works. So I'm going to have these two things. And then I just went to Home Depot today, picked up a space heater, a portable space heater for $35. but it's rated at, it's a 1500 watt heater or something. It's 1500 watt heater versus a 200 watt heater, but it's a tiny little space heater. It's really small. And I got a 25-foot extension cord, a 12 gauge wire, heavy duty outdoor extension cord that's going to be more than adequate to hook a space heater up to. So tomorrow morning, when I go out, about half an hour or so before I leave, I'm going to take this space heater out. I'm going to put it in the car, run an extension cord to my outlet, let it run for half an hour, see how warm the inside of the car gets, and then go out and start the car. And hopefully I won't have any issues starting the car tomorrow morning. And it's supposed to be like 75, 76 degrees when I leave work tomorrow. So I'm not going to have to worry about starting the car when it's 75 degrees. I'll be able to go do a little bit of grocery shopping, whatnot. I am getting sick of spending all this money as Band-Aid fixes to the car, because I just want to get the freaking car fixed, and it's going to be expensive. I already know it's going to cost a lot of money to fix this car. So, but on the flip side, this thing's getting returned. I'll get $20 back. I'm going to have a portable space heater in case I run out, in case I need it. It's not just for the car. It's something I might be able to use. I'm going to have 2 portable space heaters. So if my mini split breaks and it's a cold ass night, I got 2 heaters for the house that'll keep the house warm. If the power goes out, I can plug this into this. If the power goes out, I can use this battery here to power my internet connection, my 5G router from T-Mobile, and I can use the UPS that I have to power my laptop. And I'll get several hours. I might get up to like 8 hours of, if there's a power outage for 8 hours, I should still be able to have a laptop running along with my internet up and running, because I can power the internet with this thing, and I can power the computer with another UPS backup that I have. And so even though I'm buying this crap to deal with the car problems and trying to figure out what to do there, it's like blue sky. You just said it. These items are versatile. And these are things I had. When I got arrested at my house, I had probably 4 or 5 different space heaters in my house, probably a half a dozen extension cords. I had a 100-foot extension cord on a reel. All these things that a 50-year-old guy would have after living in Pittsburgh for 30-something years, almost 30 years. You collect a few things over the years, and you have what you need. But I'm starting from nothing, so I don't got a space heater. I don't got nothing. I've never owned one of these solar power stations. I've always wanted one. They had a different one at Walmart that was on Black Friday sale today. I could have gone and picked it up at Walmart today, but I think this one was a better deal for the money, especially when it comes to running a space heater off of it. Because this one's got 300. This one will run 300 watts, where the one at Walmart was it was a Jackery, which is a better brand, but it would only throw out about 200 watts of power, and that's pretty much cutting it close to what this space heater is going to need. And I don't want to run into a situation where the space heater is not going to run. So this thing will put out plenty of power. It's small. It's like, there's a picture of it in somebody's hand somewhere. Maybe it was in the reviews. I swear I saw, right here. Here's a pit. So it's small. And that's not even the one I ordered. The one I ordered is smaller than this. Or maybe it's the same size physically, but it doesn't have as much stuff going on. So it's small. It's compact. It's probably pretty heavy for its size. I know that these things can weigh a lot. I didn't even think of going to Harbor Freight until just now. because I know Harbor Freight sells these power supplies as well. In fact, if I had thought of that earlier, I would have gone to look and see if Harbor Freight had one that I could just bring home. But either way, these things will be useful for other reasons. 2 space heaters, a portable power supply that can be hooked up to a solar panel, great for camping, and extension cords. And Alex says, one of the reasons I only like very basic cars. A good running European car is just a future problem. They're all crap now. Like, all the cars are. It's like in the 70s and 80s, 100,000 miles on a car was a death sentence. That was the end of life. Then in the 90s, early 2000s, up to about 2010, they figured out, they started putting out cars that would get 300,000 miles with no problem. Toyotas, Hondas, you know. And then I think the car companies were like, we can't do that. We got to go back to making junk that doesn't last. And so now you have cars that within 50,000 miles have a catastrophic failure. Engine blows out, transmission blows out, 50,000 miles, needs a new engine, needs a new transmission. And on top of the garbage quality of all these new cars, you can't repair them. The manufacturer is making the cars junk on purpose, and they're putting in proprietary electronics technology and programming and software that an independent mechanic doesn't have access to, and then therefore you can't fix the cars anymore. And they're making the replacement parts so expensive that as soon as the warranty runs out, one repair costs more than the brand new car. And it's getting ridiculous with these new cars. So that's all I see is how horrible these new cars are, whatever it is. Toyotas even. They're saying all the new Toyotas are garbage. They designed the warranties and the parts to accurately fall apart at the end of the warranty. There's internal documents that have been leaked from some of these manufacturers like GM, where they tell the engineers that you made the parts too good. We need you to engineer this to fail at a certain number of miles. And then they tell you that's the length of the warranty. Because they don't want every single car company, especially Honda, Toyota, GM, all the companies, they know exactly how to build a car that will last 1 million miles with no maintenance and no issues. They all know how to do it. None of them will do it. It's the light bulb conspiracy from the 1800s. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in a nutshell, all the big light bulb companies were competing against each other back in the day, and it got to the point where there's a fire station in America. I don't know where it is. There's a light bulb in the fire station that's been turned on for over 100 and something years, and it's never gone out. 100-year light bulb. And it's still burning to this day. It's a tourist attraction now. People go to this fire station to see this light bulb that's been going for over 100 years. And the light bulb companies got together and they formed a cartel, and that's what they call it. It's where the word cartel comes from. And these light bulb companies got together and they decided as a group, we will not manufacture light bulbs that last more than a certain number of hours. Let's say 2,000 hours. And if anybody in the group goes outside of that agreement and starts making light bulbs that last forever again, the rest of the companies in the cartel will get together and drive that company out of business with lawsuits, hostile takeovers, you name it. Whatever they can do, they will attack you and put you out of business. So now there's no motivation to make a light bulb that lasts forever. And the whole reason is if everybody buys a light bulb that's going to last 100 years, nobody's ever going to buy more than one light bulb from us. And it's not a viable business anymore. So they need to purposely make light bulbs die. Like, look at all this bullshit where they told us LED light bulbs will last 50 years. And now you go and you buy the LED bulbs. How long do you get? About a month, 2 months sometimes. And then they burn out. Like, they're programmed. I guarantee you there's a fucking chip in those light bulbs with a timer running. And when the timer finishes, it just disconnects the circuit programmatically. But it's all like this now. But they absolutely know how to make a car that will last 1,000,000 miles, never break, and never give you any problems other than general wear and tear, tires, brakes, basic maintenance. And at the end of the day, you know, they're not ever going to. You know, the mid 1990s to like 2010 is probably the sweet spot for cars. Yeah, I mean, I had a 20-year-old, looking at your Alex's comment, you're 100% correct. You want 20-year-old Japanese made cars, but then it becomes an issue of getting parts as they get older. We know. Um, I had a 20-year-old. I had a 20-year-old Mini Cooper. And there was one time, now this was my third car. You know, it was my second car, and then I bought another truck. And so the Mini Cooper was the third vehicle. I would need new brake pads and rotors. Take it to my mechanic. 2 weeks. 2 weeks in the shop to do a brake change. It would just sit there for 2 weeks because he'd be like, well, he told me it's almost impossible to get the brakes now. Brakes, brake pads and rotors for a 20-year-old car. Your car will sit at the shop for 2 weeks waiting for the parts to come in. The Napa guy's not going to show up later on in the day with your parts. They had to special order everything for that car. The car was mostly reliable. I mean, I never really had major issues with that car, except for right when I bought it. I had to replace the alternator and the exhaust. The exhaust I knew about when I bought it. The alternator was a surprise. But after I did those two things, I went a long time. The rest of the time I owned that car was maintenance, tires, brakes, and occasional other things, but not much. I can't think of anything. Sensors, O2 sensors and things like that that'll make that check engine light come on were starting to flake out. It was a 20-year-old car. I'd replace a sensor, check engine light goes away. 2 weeks later, check engine light comes on. It's another O2 sensor. And those sensors were expensive. They were like $300 each, aside from the labor, which the labor wasn't much. Unscrew, screw it in. The car was well taken care of. It wasn't rusty and it wasn't like totally beat up. So it was easy enough to work on, but it just, but yeah, I mean, what are we looking at? Auto lights. Started with the light bulbs. I'm just looking through the comments. But anyway, I don't know. You're talking about the auto light. I don't even know what that is. Headaches. LED bulbs give me a headache too. If I just go with a straight LED bulb, I can't stand those things. Oh, I hate them. Some of the newer ones with the warm glow and the diffusion, they're not so bad. I do have some in the house here. They know they're doing it on purpose. If you have light bulbs that give you a headache, there were some light bulbs in my son's room that I had to get rid of because they would literally make me sick to my stomach to walk into the room. It was like looking at an old school 60 hertz Trinitron tube display. That thing would make me go crazy back in the day. I couldn't sit in front of those monitors. It had to be at least 120 hertz or I couldn't sit in front of it. I'd get sick to my stomach and want to throw up. So, but they do this on purpose with the cars. And so, you know, with the light bulbs too, the whole thing is designed to destroy us. It's the same reason why all of our food here in America is all the ingredients are poison. Just like, you know, Campbell's soup, it's made for poor people from a bunch of 3D printed meat and GMO bullshit. According to the vice president himself, I won't eat that shit. That's for poor people. At least he's honest. So, anyway, I did all these things to the car. I bought all this stuff to try and limp my way to the finish line. I'm hoping Tuesday morning is supposed to be the coldest morning of next week. And if I play my cards right, I can drop off the car when I get out of work. If I can make it to the garage before they close, give them the keys, walk home, and at least Tuesday morning, it should be almost 30 degrees, 30 to 35 degrees or 38 degrees. I don't know. It's going to be somewhere in that range. That will guarantee that the car won't start. And they will be at least able to start diagnosing what's going on there. Yeah, John S. JS, everything including washing machines. Had an LG that died in a year. My mom's Whirlpool lasted 36 years. Absolutely. I have, at one of my old houses, I had a fridge in the basement. I had a fridge upstairs that was nothing but problems, and it was a modern refrigerator. And there was a refrigerator in the basement from like 1972 or something like that. When I moved out of that house, I took the 1970s fridge with me because the landlord didn't give a shit about it. And I didn't have a fridge at my new house. So I'm like, well, this will get me through the first couple of weeks. Or this will get me through until I can get a good fridge. That got me through the whole time I lived there. And in fact, the parts are so standard on it that I was able to replace all the broken parts, like the shelf parts and the racks and stuff. It was easy. And that refrigerator lasted for 5 or 6 years while I lived at my next house. And when I moved out of that house, I left the refrigerator there. It never stopped working, and it worked great. It was fine. Never had a problem with it. And it was straight up 1970s, that beige color with the goofy, it looked like somebody drew the design on the front with all the trim pieces using a spirograph, with all the curly loops and stuff and the brown, all the stuff. I mean, it looked, and then the Frigidaire logo was in some cursive font with a pointy crown and it's like straight up looked like, it looked like Dolomite's house. That fridge was the beast. Those things don't die. And even if you go to like Home Depot and whatnot, and you grab the basic bitch fridge, the basic chest freezer, the one that doesn't have all the features, the one that's literally just a fridge and a freezer, no water filter, no computer screen on the front, none of that modern garbage. Those don't do too. Those last a while. I don't know about you, but it's these modern ones. Like my friend bought a Samsung oven. Like a month after they bought it, it needed to be repaired. 2 months later, it needed to be repaired again. And after the warranty was gone, they had it repaired so many times they had to just get rid of the thing because it was just going to be a matter of time before it died again. Just for a freaking oven. So in my dream kitchen, if I ever own my own house, or let me put it this way, if I ever get to the point where I can rent a house directly from the government instead of renting a house from a landlord, where the only rent payment that I have to make is property tax, I will have a commercial kitchen. I will go to used restaurant equipment manufacturers, or a place where restaurants go to get used equipment, and I'll just get a bunch of stainless steel restaurant equipment. Why? Because the refrigerators work, the freezers work, all the parts are interchangeable, they're standard. You can order the shelf. If I need more shelves for the fridge, I can buy them I can buy them on Amazon. Basic shelves and clips. Everything is a standard. Everything is completely standardized. Commercial ovens, standard. Everything, all the parts, you can fix them. You can fix them yourself. I take apart the Hobart mixers at the bakery myself with basic tools. There's been things that broke on the mixers, and I'm like, oh, I'll take a look at it. They're so well made. You can rip those things apart and get to a couple of screwdrivers and a wrench, and you can take that whole thing apart. You understand how it all works. It's very basic. It's industrial. It's designed to last. A couple of times a button got gunked up with a bunch of flour and stuff, and I was able to take the whole thing apart, figure it out, clean it out in the sink, because the parts that were all gunked up can be completely detached from any electrical wiring. So you can, the thing is designed knowing that it's going to get all gunked up with flour and stuff over time, and the buttons aren't going to work anymore. And when I took the whole thing apart, I'm like, this is totally designed to be taken apart and cleaned. If that was a Samsung mixer, forget it. It's over. You got to buy a new one because the button stops working, and it's going to cost $30,000 for a new button. All these people with these, have you seen the thing with all these people with these Samsung fridges now? Now Samsung's running big ads on the fridge. So you got this fridge that's the whole front of the fridge is a giant computer screen, and every time you go up to your fridge, there's some sort of stupid ad. Just like, you know, those dumbass ads that you see on YouTube where some guy with a gun's on a bridge going back and forth shooting at the zombies and stuff, and then he shoots a barrel and a gun pops out, and then he's got two guns to shoot the zombies with. They're playing these fucking ads on your refrigerator screen now. Like, who the fuck would sign up for that? Who wants that? If you're that fucking glued to a screen that you got to go and buy a refrigerator that has a freaking computer screen on the front, like, you are seriously mentally ill if you're going out and buying one of those things. Like, what the fuck do you need a screen on the front of your fridge for? What purpose does that serve? What purpose does that serve? It's not like you're not holding a phone in your hand when you're at the fridge. These millennials and these Gen Z kids, this is how they're opening the door to their fridge, holding a screen in their hand already because they can't detach the thing from their hand physically without getting sick. So they've already got a screen in their hand. Why do they need a screen on the fridge? I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I could see an iPad in the kitchen, recipes. I mean, I use iPads. I use my phone for recipes. I mean, if I'm cooking something, I don't use I do have a binder full of recipes, and that's the problem. There are some recipes that I want right now that I think there's a binder somewhere in Pittsburgh with all my recipes in it because my dumbass didn't put them in the cloud. All the recipes that I did put in the cloud, I have. So I need to, it's like I've lost some stuff because of that. But I know I'll get them back someday. Yeah, spend the day Thanksgiving, be thankful for all you have, and then spend the next day, Black Friday, trying to get all the stuff you don't need. Exactly. I don't participate. I went to the store today knowing it was Black Friday. The two things that I bought did not have a deal. An extension cord and a heater. Neither one of them were on sale. And the place, Home Depot, was packed to the walls. Home Depot. What are you getting at Home Depot on Black Friday that's worth waiting in line for an hour for? For me, it was worth it because I had nothing else. Well, I had things I had to do today, but I had to make sure that my car will start in the morning. So it was worth going there to get the things that will probably allow me to start my car. And that was the only reason I was there. That's it. It's the only reason I went. Other than that, I had no business being outside on Black Friday at all. I wouldn't. It's like the stuff I got on Amazon, the portable power supply. The portable power supply was $50 off. I saved $50 because it was Black Friday. Black Friday is a scam, but some things go on sale. Hard drives. I need 2 hard drives. Amazon started their Black Friday sale a week before Black Friday. The hard drives that I want, instead of being $300 a piece, were $160 a piece. That's a good deal. But when I got the money to do it, they were gone, sold out. Best Buy had another deal on 24 gigabyte hard drives, but they were like $250 a piece. But that's a good price. But now I'm not going to go do it because I had to do this other crap. The one thing I did do, I did get a Black Friday deal for the YouTube channel. You don't see it yet. But I'll pull it up on my screen because some of you saw it during the members only stream. But I haven't talked about this on the Thursday everybody stream, but I'm gonna do a little bit more professionalism here on the channel, and I have two reasons for doing this. I'm gonna shoot some videos that I narrate and shoot video, in front of the camera, like I'm doing for the live stream. But this will also help with the live stream. But I did get some good Black Friday prices on the stuff I bought, and this is part of the reason why I don't want to get the hard drives. This is what I did as a consolation prize when I couldn't get the hard drives after they sold out. I picked up a Logitech webcam that is 60 frame per second, 1080p, and this was the color. This color was $79. The other ones were $99, and I'm like, well, why do I care what color it is? I'll get the cheapest one. Nobody's going to see the camera. $129. I got it for $80 on Black Friday, and so that's a good price for that camera. I did my homework on. I watched a lot of test videos on YouTube where people compared different cameras, and this one was pretty good. So I'm going to have better video quality when you guys see me on the live stream, when I have time to wire this all up and get it all, plugged in and set up. Picked up a microphone, nothing too expensive, but $65 on a Black Friday deal. Normally $80. The reason I picked this one is the microphone itself has a good rating for being a cheap microphone, and it's got a built-in pop filter. It's a condenser mic, so it won't pick up as much background noise behind me, like the refrigerator, the mini split, and whatever's going on outside. It should only pick up the audio from what's real close to it. And it's got the stand for my desk, and it's also got a shock absorber so that when you're banging on your table or touching your keyboard or typing on the keyboard, you shouldn't hear that coming through the audio, because the vibration damper on a microphone like that will eliminate any noise caused from touching the desk or whatever table or whatever it's plugged into, or it'll lessen it to the point where it's not a big deal. And this is a cheapy microphone, but I looked at a lot of reviews, and in the price range of $50 to $300, $500, this one was rated pretty high for the price, and it's definitely going to be better than the built-in mic that's on my MacBook. And so I'm just going to roll with this for now. And then I picked up a front-facing light that I can just attach right in front of me next to the camera. Just a basic. Here's what it'd look like if I was a transgender looking, having a YouTube channel. It'd make my skin tones look real nice. But just a basic diffuse light, and it'll do the job. So if I have all the lights on in my kitchen, but you still see the shadow on my face, and then you see like the one light has this streak coming down because of the way it's interacting with the camera lens here. So I'll just be able to, I'll get better lighting and better video and better audio. I have all the stuff. It's on a pile. It's sitting behind me. I haven't plugged any of it in yet. I have too much stuff to do. I have all this stuff to do stuff with. I just need to do the stuff. Part of the reason is this car. Part of it's I'm just being pulled in a lot of directions right now. But I am moving forward with doing things that I want to do. I just don't want to. I don't even want to ride my bicycle right now. I was just gonna try and drop my car off today, and then, oh my God, Notion. What the hell was this? Hold on a second. Notion, this piece of junk app. There we go. Anyway, that threw me off. Bicycling. I was going to try and drop the car off today and force myself to ride my bicycle tomorrow and Monday. But tomorrow is supposed to rain all day, and Monday's supposed to be like ice cold. And I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I rode my bike almost 4,000 miles this year, and I'm tapped out. I just don't have the motivation right now. So I felt like it was worth doing what I did to try and ghetto fix my car until I can actually take it to the garage. And, you know, if I can get this car fixed and to the point where it doesn't do this again, and drivetrain wise, it feels like a solid car. It doesn't feel like anything's gonna go terribly wrong, and the 5-cylinder basic Passat have a high rating in that regard. But even Scotty, Rev Up Your Engine, Scotty says that they're an electronics nightmare. Said that all the problems you're ever going to have with that Passat are electrical, because the electrical system sucks. And that's all these modern cars now. I mean, every modern car that you buy now, what is it? It's just a big giant iPad across the dashboard and a bunch of electronic bullshit to where the brakes aren't even brakes anymore. The brake is just a wire. It's like a PlayStation controller. The gas pedals, basically, it's a PlayStation controller. Like, they're getting to the point where you will use a PlayStation controller to drive your car at some point. They're pretty screwed up north this week. The only positive thing, if I was in Jamestown right now, I'd have my car fixed because it's cold every day. So there wouldn't be, I could take it to the garage and they wouldn't be giving me the car back without it working because it's cold. So let that car sit outside in Jamestown for 5 minutes. I guarantee you it won't start. Here, it's going to be like 75, 80 again next week with the lows of 60 in the middle of the night, 4 in the morning. So that is 60 degrees is kind of like the hit or miss. 50 to 60, you don't know what it's going to do. Below 50, it's probably not going to start, and it's going to throw all kinds of problems. It's like it's not an exact temperature, but it's pretty damn predictable what this car is going to do. I will be grateful that I have not had to get it towed yet. I haven't had to get it towed, and I haven't been stranded anywhere. But it's getting on my nerves that half the time I go to start the car when it's cold, I got to open the hood, take the battery clamps off, do a bunch of crap, just a bunch of retarded things that people had suggested in the forums, one of which is put a space heater in the car before you got to go somewhere, all these things. But I have a decent idea of what the fix is probably going to be. And it could, if I'm lucky, it could just be cleaning contacts and bending metal pins to have a tighter connection. But chances are I'm probably going to need a new computer module. And that's not cheap. I'm planning on it costing $800 to fix this freaking car. So the money I saved, they wanted $4,600 for the car. I got it down to $3,800. That's $800, puts it back up at $46. If it costs less, awesome. If it costs more, I might just fix it and get rid of it as soon as I can. Like, I don't know. I can't have a car that every time I turn the key to start the car, I'm like, I don't know, is it going to start? Like, that's driving me crazy. I can't take it. I wouldn't rather go back to riding my bike just yet, but I know my bicycle will start. The only reason my bicycle won't start is if I break a leg. You know what I mean? So that, at least I know I'm going to get where I'm going. It's just going to be slow, but I'm getting fat. So, I mean, I don't know. I need to ride my bike 3 more times to the bakery to get 4,000 miles for the year. I could have done it tomorrow and Monday, but the temperature, I'm just not motivated. Not motivated to ride especially if it's going to be like 30 degrees and raining. That's hypothermia. I have the meat, I have clothing, I have rain. I can deal with the weather, even bad weather, but I'm just kind of like, I'm just not there. I'm just not feeling it right now. And, you wouldn't either if you rode 4,000 miles in the span of a year and did all the stuff that I did to get here. It just, I didn't read Jesus Calling every day. but I can talk about this book some more. It says, hold on a second. I think I'm going to grab some coffee. If I have some in here. Yes. All right. Let's kneel something. All right. Book. Thank me frequently. Thanksgiving, of course. Thank me frequently as you journey through today. This practice makes it possible to pray without ceasing, as the Apostle Paul taught. If you're serious about learning to pray continually, the best approach is to thank me in every situation. These thankful prayers provide a solid foundation on which you can build all your other prayers. Moreover, a grateful attitude makes it easier for you to communicate with me. When your mind is occupied with thanking me, you have no time for worrying or complaining. If you practice thankfulness consistently, negative thought patterns will gradually grow weaker and weaker. Draw near to me with a grateful heart, and my presence will fill you with joy and peace. And so, when it comes to my situation here, like I said yesterday when I was on my way to my friend's house, I just took a minute to count out 10 things to be thankful for. And I'll answer you, Alex. Being a prepper in an escalating world, you must have a reliable source of transport. You know this. Yeah, that costs money too. I had a $4,000 budget. What are you going to do? I'd buy one jalopy or another. I mean, it was, I want the blown head gasket or the bad electronics. Like, it just wasn't, transportation and survival food that will get you through 2 months minimum. I'm not there. Like, I used to have 2 4-wheel drive vehicles plus a third car, plus a year's supply of food, 10,000 rounds of ammo, more than 10, probably 20,000 rounds of ammo, more than 1,000 rounds for each gun. And I had 13 guns. I had gasoline stored. I had enough gasoline stored in gas cans with stable. I had a generator. I had go bags ready to go, backpacks and go bags and car kits. My pickup truck was always already packed to go camping because the drawers and the deck system was they were already pre-packed. Everything in the truck was already packed to go, bug out, except for what was in the backpacks that sat on a platform inside the mudroom. I was prepped and ready. I was ready for the shit to go down. That's probably part of the reason why they drove a tank into my house and took it all away. The other reason had to do with me being involved with a website that they didn't like, Gab. I was a designer who was helping Andrew Torba rebuild Gab over the summer of 2019. And all this weird shit started happening to me right when I started working for him. So this whole thing that happened to me wasn't just because of a tweet. I'm pretty convinced that they were after me for some years, and they found something that they could use to come at me with. Because of my stupidity. But I know how to prep. But you need money. You need money to prep. All these people with their prepper channels, Prepper Nurse One and this guy, Pinball Prepper, and all these other people, they all got money. They got 2 years supply of food and 6 vehicles and a fucking snowmobile and a motorcycle, and they got all the guns and everything they need. They got 20 acres of land with an off-grid cabin and solar panels and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's all great. I can't just go out there and say, I'm going to buy that tomorrow. But you do what you can. And that should not, I'm not saying this to discourage you from being a prepper or prepping, because as I'm learning myself, being a prepper means you just take it one day at a time and you do what you can. And you slowly build up I am way more prepared than I was a year ago. Believe me, I'm way more prepared today than I was 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I didn't have a car. Now I have an unreliable car. An unreliable car is better than no car. If I needed to bug out and get somewhere, my car will get me somewhere. It may not get me back, but maybe I don't want to come back. But I can load up that car with a bunch of crap and get the hell out of town. And if it breaks down, I'll put a bicycle on the back and I'll take the bicycle and keep on going. So I've got 2 bicycles. Even a bicycle's not 100% foolproof. A flat tire with no way to fix it will make you stop dead quick. A broken handlebar, a broken crank arm, something that you can't fix easily out in the field will stop you dead in your tracks. A broken leg will stop you from hiking somewhere. I mean, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be able to do what you need to do. I don't have 2 months worth of food. I don't have room to put 2 months worth of food in here. And a freaking I say that how many times have I said this over and over again? You go to the grocery store now. I used to be able to get a whole shopping cart, the big shopping cart, $100. I could make that fill the cart to the top. $100. I could fill a shopping cart. Maybe I'm not getting, maybe I'm not getting ribeyes and filet mignon that day, but I could fill a cart for $100. Now you can't even fill the stupid little basket with the 2 plastic handles for $100. You can't even fill the basket. You can't even fill the basket for $100. How the fuck are you supposed to stockpile a year's worth of food if you can't even get a week's worth of food for $100 for one person? What does a family of 5 need now? $900 to $1,000 a week for groceries? Like, we're fucked. And these fucking scumbags in Washington, they're not doing anything but making it worse. Donald Trump, we'll talk about, they're setting up martial law in all the cities now, the National Guard, to keep us safe. The courts came up with a ruling or had some ruling that said what Donald Trump was doing in Washington, D.C. is illegal, and he's going to have to remove the National Guard troops. All of a sudden, bang, bang, 2 National Guard troops get shot, and now they're going to bring more National Guard troops to the city of Washington, D.C. This is all staged. Everything that you're watching, the Charlie Kirk thing, the soldiers getting shot in D.C., everything that this stupid fucking I can't wait until that goddamn comet's gone, because I get nothing in my feed about how it's an alien spaceship and they're coming and Project Bluebeam, and yeah, maybe and AI and all the shit they're doing to us. They are moving really fast to the book of Revelation. And as far as I care, bring it. Let's do it. Get it done. I'm sick of waiting around for this shit. I'm bring the 7 years of tribulation. I don't care. The weeping and gnashing of teeth and the fire in the sky and the wormwood, all that shit. Just bring it. Do it. Because when it comes, you'll know we're really close to the end, and you'll almost be able to put it on a calendar and be like, there's the end date. Inflation is rampant right through the West, but from what I'm hearing, at least you guys are getting smashed the most. Tubes, brake, cable housing, belts, fluids. Yeah, I mean, it's all... There's nothing... There's no mode of transportation is 100% reliable. I had a Jeep Wrangler, a 2-door Jeep Wrangler, me and my son. It was very reliable, very reliable. My son and I were camping for about 4 days. We went to go home. The vehicle started, but it was running really rough, and the check engine light was flashing like something major was wrong. And we were 20 miles away from a cell phone signal, not 20 miles away from a town, 20 miles away on dirt roads in a national forest from a cell phone signal, not a town, 25 miles from a town. And we didn't have our bicycles with us. Oh, shit. Now what? So I had no choice. I had to limp the Jeep out of the woods, firing on 3 cylinders to get to a gas station somewhere, and we were able to try and look at it a little bit more closely, and some other people saw us because we're out in the country, so friendly people were coming up seeing if they could help, and there really wasn't much we could do. And I just was like, you know what, I got to get home, screw it, it's driving, I'll roll the dice, I'll see what happens. I drove the thing home another 45 miles with the check engine light flashing, 3 out of the 6 cylinders or whatever it was firing. And it sounded like chitty chitty bang bang the whole way home. And I didn't dare go faster than 30 miles an hour, and we just limped along on back roads. We got home. Now, this was during the 2020 scamdemic. So my normal auto garage, when I called the garage, they said, oh, we can't look at it for 2 months. That's how screwed up everything was right then. They're like, we're so backed up and we're so screwed, and we don't have people and the masks and everything else. They're like, we can't even look at your Jeep for 2 months, Adam. So I called another garage that was around where I lived. And they said, yeah, you can bring it in. We'll take a look for you. I dropped it off. I rode my bicycle home. I wasn't even in the front door when I got home. I was still in the driveway. I get a call from the garage. They're like, your Jeep's ready. I'm like, what do you mean my Jeep's ready? They're like, yeah, we just fixed it for you. We found out what it was. Squirrels ate the ignition wires that lead to the ignition coil, the coil pack that fires the spark plugs in their proper order. Squirrels chewed away a couple of the wires, and so only 4 out of the 6 cylinders were firing. And so they're like, yeah, we were able to heat shrink and splice the wires back together, so you don't even need a new wiring harness. They're like, but if it happens again, you'll have to replace the wiring harness next time, but for now you're good. The rest of the time I owned that Jeep, I never had to fix it again. But that's what can happen. Your reliable vehicle could be parked somewhere, and a squirrel can come and eat your wires, and you can't start your car the next day. I mean, that can happen. Your perfectly fine car, your reliable Toyota could just Richie from Boston, I don't know what he did to his he's got some sort of jalopy of a fucking truck that he probably, I don't know where this dude gets his money. But every time he's talking about this damn Toyota that he drives around, this souped up Toyota off-roader, this dude's paid $250,000 for his truck. Because every time he talks about it, he's like, oh, I bought this thing, it was $20,000. This other thing was $30,000. This other thing, these axles were $7,000 a piece. And but he'll be driving down the road and the wheel will fall off and the axle will snap in half. And then he's stuck at some garage doing $20,000 of work to his $250,000 truck. Where the fuck do you get this money? I don't even want to know. I want to know just because I want to know how I can do it. It may not be the same way he does. I just want to know, like out of curiosity, how do you get enough money to buy a $250,000 truck and go drive around the country all year on YouTube? Because I'd like to do that. no offense, but it can happen to any vehicle. You can put $250,000 into your Toyota 4Runner and turn it into the biggest mega beast that you've ever seen, and you can be driving down the road and your wheel falls off. So it just, nothing is reliable anymore. Nothing is reliable. Back in the day, you could be riding your horse and your horse breaks a leg and it's dead. I don't know, man. So Blue Sky says he said he made a mistake selling his old Toyota setup. Probably. I mean, that thing had problems too, because I've been watching him for a while. I've seen him. But he doesn't seem to ever really have a problem when something breaks. He's just like, well, throw another $50,000 at that. That'll fix it. Just mad. That dude's got money in the bank. Who knows how? People say he went to prison for a while. Did he make all his money before he went to prison and got to keep it? I don't know. Just saying. I can't live like that. I can't even fix my damn car that's out. My $3,800 car I can't fix right now. I can afford it probably now, but I'll be broke for a few weeks when I do. But either way, going back to the Jesus calling here, the part that stood out to this entry to me was when your mind is occupied with thanking me, you have no time for worrying or complaining. And if you practice thankfulness consistently, negative thought patterns will gradually grow weaker and weaker. And that's the big thing to me. Being thankful, I've noticed it because I complain. Nobody's going to argue with me about that. If you watch this channel, you've heard me complain at least once or twice, but when I get into that mode of thought, if I can be grateful for whatever, it does tame it. It takes my negative energy and knocks it down a bunch. If I get, and believe, I would do this thing, the 10 things. On my way to my friend's house, I came up with 10 things to be thankful for, and it took 2 minutes because it was easy. It was easy. In fact, I came up with like 15 or 20 because I just kept going on my way to my friend's house. And by the time I got to my friend's house, the problems with the car weren't bothering me. I didn't care anymore. I was just glad to be out and about and doing my thing. I started doing this in prison because, as you might imagine, prison is about the most miserable fucking place on earth. That's why I'm against the death penalty, because the death, going to death, if I had to spend the rest of my life in prison, I'd rather just die. I would try to kill myself. At that point, I would try to kill myself. If I knew I was never coming home, if I knew I was never coming home from prison, I would absolutely want to kill myself. Like life in prison with no parole, I'd try to kill myself every day until I finally figured out how. No doubt. Like that would be the breaking point for me, because living the rest of your life in prison is worse than death. Ask anybody who's been in prison. If I'm wrong about that, I'm not. I guarantee you that I'm not. And so the death penalty is an easy way out. Go look up how El Chapo lives in prison right now. Look up what his life is like right now. El Chapo would rather die than what he does every day for the rest of his life. Go look it up. Go look up what it's like in the Colorado Supermax prison. Death is better. Death is better. So I got 20 different reasons to be against the death penalty. If somebody killed somebody I cared about, my kids, somebody I was close to, whatever, I would still want them to die like anybody else would. But I also know that spending the rest of your life in prison is 100 times worse than death. I mean, think about it. If you get the death penalty and you confess your sins to the Lord and you come back to Jesus, that's like a free ticket to go to heaven. You get to skip all that fucking misery for the rest of your life living in prison and go straight to the promised land. Fuck that. You need to sit in prison for the rest of your life and suffer until you go to the promised land. Especially if you're, some of these people in the elites, these Epstein Island people and whatnot, they should spend the rest of their life in prison suffering every day. Even if they are going to get forgiven by Jesus and let into the kingdom of heaven, they should suffer until that day comes, not just get a free ticket to ride. That's all. I mean, nobody who's never been in prison will tell you that, but ask someone who's spent some time in prison. If you knew you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, if that's worse than death, every single person will tell you, yes, it is. So when your mind is occupied with thanking me, you have no time to worry or complain. I'll still find a way. But if you practice thankfulness consistently, negative thought patterns will grow weaker and weaker, and they do. So the 10 things, I did that in prison. I would be walking around outside when I was at the low security club fed camp thing with the pickleball and the gym. And I would go outside. And the first thing I would do, because you're miserable every fucking day when you wake up, you're like, oh shit, I'm still in prison. This sucks. So the first thing I would do is go outside and come up with 10 things to be thankful for. Whatever they were. It could be the same 10 things for 6 days in a row. Doesn't matter. You're still thankful for them. So you just expressing that. You're grateful for this, that, and the other thing. If you can do it when you're in prison and mean it and actually come up with 10 reasons to be thankful today, then you can do it today. You can do it. I can do it now. One of the things I can be thankful for today is I'm not in fucking prison. That's a thing to be thankful for. If you've never been in prison, you won't know, but I've been there. It sucks. I don't want to go back, so I'm thankful that I'm not. But if it's easy to come up with 10 things to be thankful for, even if you're in the worst place on earth, you can still come up with things. They're not gonna, I mean, the things I come up with now are a lot better than the things I was coming up with in prison to be thankful for. But even in prison, I noticed that when I would come up with 10 things to be thankful for first thing in the morning, when I'm out watching the sunrise, I was thankful for watching the sunrise, because for 14 months I was locked in a jail with no windows. I didn't see the sun for 14 months. I didn't see a fucking tree for 14 months. I never knew what the sky looked like, what the outside looked like. I never knew what was outside of the windows. For 14 whole months, I never saw the sun. And so the first time that you're sitting outside watching a sunrise through the barbed wire fence of a different prison, you're thankful that you got to see the sun. That's profound. Like, y'all take it for granted that the sun comes up, the sun comes down. Most of you don't even go outside to look at it. I made sure to go outside every day and see the sunrise, because you don't know. You don't know what you got until that's gone. You go 14 months locked in a fucking room with no sunlight, no sun, no tree. You're watching whole 6 different seasons went by. Summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. And I never saw the fucking trees. Never saw the sun. 14 months, didn't see the fucking sun. I mean, if you don't think that'll make you crazy, try it sometime. They don't even do that to the military people on the submarines when they go to the Navy. The longest they make those people go is about 3 months on a submarine. Because about 3 months without seeing the sun will make you go fucking crazy. But they'll put you in a jail for 14 months without seeing the sun. And there were people in that jail waiting 6 fucking years for their day in court, because the federal government can just keep you stuck in a jail cell. 6 years they can keep you locked up before you ever go to a court hearing, because they're so corrupt. All they got to do is charge you with a crime, and they can keep you in that jail cell for the next 6 years of your life. If it's a crime that you're facing 10 to 20 years on, they don't give a fuck. And you won't have a lawyer to help you. And if you do, it'll be a public defender, and they're paid by the same people that pay the prosecutor. They don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. Your public defender is on the same side as the prosecutor. So I don't know. That was probably too long to go into that side trip there. But if you can find 10 things to be thankful for when you're going through all of that, I can find 10 things to be thankful for on the day that my car is acting a fool. I have a car, and I was thankful for it yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to, whatever. It's going to cost me money and blah, blah, blah. But 6 months ago, I would have killed to have a car with car problems, because a bicycle, can only do so much. So this book, I'm helping a guy write a book. And this whole week, oh my God, I may as well have just not even got out of bed when it comes to this stuff this week, because of Thanksgiving and everything else. But the book that I'm helping my friend write, he talks about the same thing in his own way. That gratitude and having an attitude of thankfulness is a way to quiet your mind when you're going into complaining and self-pity mode. If you can just find things to be grateful for, it helps to fight that negativity out. And so, the 10 things, count just 10 things. Find 10 things to be thankful for, because you can count them as you come up with them. And so you can keep track, because sometimes your thought patterns, You'll come up with 4 things and then your mind will drift away. If you're counting them on your fingers, it's right in front of you. You know you got to come up with 6 more. It's easy to come up with 10. I never had a problem coming up with 10. And it's just some way to pause in the middle of when you're feeling like garbage, and it's a way to take a quick pause and just recalibrate your mind for a minute, and it helps. I mean, I'm not as negative as I can be as I have been in my earlier life, like especially in my 20s and maybe into my 30s and whatnot. You know, you wake up to what's going on in the world, and you know how corrupt these scumbags are that rule the world, and you know all these things because you didn't keep your head in the sand and you didn't join the Republican or the Democrat Party, but you actually paid attention to stuff and learned things. It'll drive you nuts. And you'll feel hopeless and you'll feel miserable even when things are going your way, because you just, you know some kids get raped on a private island by a billionaire who's never going to go to jail for it. And, whatever the case may be. And then these people are making decisions that are making your life miserable. Like I was saying, you can't go to the grocery store and fill a stupid basket for $100 anymore, when you used to be able to fill a whole cart. And it's because of them. So just come up with 10 things to be thankful for when you're feeling that. Could be the weather. I mean, I live in Houston. Obviously, if you're in Jamestown this week, you're not thankful for the weather if you got 9 feet of snow and it's 20 below zero. But here in Houston, hell yeah. The coldest it's going to be in the next week, I think, would be like 38. And I'm like miserable about that. And then I see pictures of Jamestown. I'm like, oh man, never mind. It is going to be like 85 at some point. Like it's freaking November, and it just got done being 95 every day until like Sunday. So I'm good. The weather's a good thing to be thankful for here in Houston. It could be the clothing you're wearing. It could be eating some Ben and Jerry's when you're homeless on your dime, all of you, because I bought it with my EBT card. And, screw you Republicans who want to dictate what I'm allowed to eat. Could have been a pizza that I bought with your money on my EBT card when I was homeless. I was thankful for that. Sometimes I might have a bad day at the bakery or an exhausting day, and I don't want to ride my bicycle home. One of the things I would do when I get on my bicycle and I get away from as soon as I get to where it's more quiet off of the main road that I start on, I would come up with 10 things to be thankful for while I'm on my bike ride. One of the things might be, I'm thankful to have a bike. I'm thankful that I have 2 bikes, the weather, that I have my good health, that my health is good enough that I can ride 50 miles to and from this job. Thankful for the job and the people I work with. And it could be whatever. I mean, it doesn't take long to come up with 10. It really doesn't, especially these days. And by the time I would get to 10, whatever I was bent out of shape about kind of just goes away. And I'm back to just riding my bike and put one foot in front of the other and, getting home from the job. Alex in Analog. Okay, so I got 2 things here. John JS says that this is one of the most important lessons I learned here. I complain a lot, but I live better than 90% of the people in Somalia and Venezuela. Yeah. I mean, all these people love communism so much, these dumb liberals, but you don't see people trying to escape capitalism on a raft made out of garbage floating across the ocean. You don't see people trying to escape capitalism by climbing over a wall with barbed wire fences while they're getting shot at. But you see people trying to escape from communism every day. And Alex in Analog says, ignorance is bliss. Knowing the harsh truths of life is depressing. Yeah, ignorance is bliss. That's why I always say, I've always noticed this, that there's four kinds of people when it comes to like knowledge and politics of the world, like knowledge about what's going on, being awake, not woke. I think the whole term woke was invented to make people who are actually awake. It's kind of like how the CIA invented the term conspiracy theorist. And I even think that they came up with the pronoun. You know how they got the pronouns now: he, she, him, he, him, and then they've got they, them as a pro. I'm like, how does one person be a they, them unless you're a schizophrenic nut job with 20 personalities? Then okay, that you're a they, them. That's the only way one person can be a they, them. And at that point, you should just be in a mental hospital with all of you, all they and all them. But aside from that, when you're a conspiracy theorist and you wear your tinfoil hat, you're always talking about they did this and it was because of them. And it might be, you know, the Illuminati, the Club of Rome, the Skull and Bones Society at Yale, the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group. But it's a hell of a lot easier to just say them and they when you're talking about that, because, you know, it could take 5 minutes to list all of the different clubs and societies that these people belong to when you're talking about them or they. So I think that this pronoun shit where they came up with a set of pronouns called they and them for crazy people to post on their fucking LinkedIn profile, it's done. I think it's on purpose so that when a tinfoil hat nut job like me is talking about they or them doing something to us, I get lumped into being a psychotic nut job, just like an idiot with their pronouns as they, them, when it's one person. And so, you see all these connections if you're awake and you can put it all together, that it's all a plan. It's all designed for a purpose. But, like I said, being grateful. Alex, ignorance is bliss. Knowing the harsh truths of life is depressing. Ignorance is bliss. The four people. You got the Republicans. They can point out anything. They know every single thing that a Democrat ever did wrong. But no Republican could ever do anything bad. Cat turd. These MAGA people are so much into the MAGA cult that Donald Trump could cut the head off of a baby, pick it up by the leg, and drink the blood out of the neck, and MAGA would be fine with it. They'd be like, oh, look at Donald Trump. He's so funny. Ha, ha, ha. But then you got these COVID mask wearing COVID cult members that are still wearing their mask in 2025. Hillary, same thing. They know every single bad thing a Republican ever did, but there's no such thing as a bad Democrat. Hillary Clinton could do the same thing. She could be on Epstein Island with Bill, cut the head off of a baby while Bill's banging a 14-year-old hooker. And Hillary Clinton could cut the head off of a baby and drink the blood. And the Democrat, those COVID mask wearing idiots, would be fine with it. So I don't get along with them. I never have. The people who are on one side or the other firmly entrenched where they can only see. It's like Jesus said, you point out the sliver in someone's eye, but you can't point out the plank in your own eye. Well, that's how these people are with the politics. They picked a team. They're firmly on that team, and anybody on their team can never do any wrong. But the other team is always wrong, and they will find every single little thing that the other team did wrong. And then you've got the people who are awake, who can call out all the bullshit that the Republicans and the Democrats do, and pretty much demonstrate that they both exist to completely screw us over, and that neither of these parties are good for us. They're all fucking the kids on the private islands. It don't matter whether they're a Democrat or a Republican. They're all involved with this shit. That's why they're all involved with covering it up now. And it's not just that. These people, they don't make any decisions that are good for the common poor people, as Campbell Soup puts it. Those poor people that eat Campbell Soup and the 3D printed garbage meat. They're not doing anything for us. It's all for them. And they all go to parties together and they clink their champagne glasses together and they all laugh at what a bunch of stupid retards we are for believing that there's two different parties and that there's actually a difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. So you got the awake people who can talk like I'm talking to you and break it down. Like sometimes you thought I was a Trump supporter until Trump started fucking around and stabbing us in the back, and now I don't. I thought he was a better choice than cackling Kamala. But I mean, it was like trying to decide whether a bowl of dog turds smells better than a bowl of cat shit. I mean, I'm still picking between two bowls of poop at the when you go to the. I'm not voting, but I mean, if I were to vote again, which I won't, because that's what you're voting for, which bowl of shit smells the best. So if you're awake, that's one thing. Or if you're completely ignorant, ignorance is bliss. I get along with them people because I know why. I know why you just want to keep your head in the sand and pretend it's not there and just focus on your life and not give a shit about what a bunch of criminals are doing to us because there's nothing you can do about it, et cetera, et cetera. My argument is that if everybody was awake, they wouldn't be able to do it to us. But you cannot wake up the people that are on the Democrat or the Republican team. They're the ones they're more ignorant than the ignorance is bliss crowd. They're worse. The people that cling to the cult. And we got the perfect analogy for the cult. The COVID cult that runs around in 2025 still wearing a fucking mask on their face not because they're afraid of some disease, it's because they want everybody to know they hate Trump. So if you put a mask on your face and you go out in public, everybody's going to be like, oh, they hate Trump. Like it's like wearing a fucking Metallica shirt to a Metallica concert so that everybody in town knows you're going to the Metallica concert later. You know what I mean? Like they're just wearing it because they want you to know whose team they're on, not because of a germ. And it's the same thing with those stupid red hats. They're just putting on that hat. Like Donald Trump, you could have a video of Donald Trump raping a 9-year-old girl on Epstein Island if it comes out, and these MAGA hat wearing retards will still support him. The MAGA hats will just be like, well, they should lower the age of consent to 6 because Trump did it, and Trump can do no wrong. So it don't matter. It don't matter about any of them. So I never get along with the party people, the ones that are like firmly entrenched on one side or the other. I make enemies of them all day long, everywhere I go. The ones that I get along with are the ones that are awake and don't like either party and don't belong to either party and can see a turd for a turd and can, they can call a turd. Or the people that are just so ignorant and so like don't care at all. Because at least you can hang out with them and you're not going to get into an argument about politics. And if you try to wake those people up, they'll listen to you, but at the end of the day, they won't care. So I always got along with those people, but the other ones, I can get along in terms of like, we can get along, especially before 2016. But after 2020, that changed. There's a lot of people in this world I do not give a shit about after 2020. I just don't. And after the 4 years of Trump, no deep state people get arrested. I mean, it's been 9 years now since Donald Trump told Hillary Clinton to her face, if I were president, you'd be in jail. Isn't that why the election? Isn't that why Donald Trump won the election in 2016? Because he got on national TV and said right to Hillary Clinton's face, because you'd be in jail. It's been 9 fucking years, dude, and you've been president twice. She's still not in jail. Just shut the fuck up already. I'm sick and tired of him. He talks a bunch of shit like he's going to do something, then he doesn't do anything. And that's when I'm sick and tired of him. He just talk. How about do something? One arrest. Just one arrest. No arrests for the Epstein clients, no arrests for Benghazi. Hillary Clinton's still not in jail. No arrests for the rigged elections. No arrests for the Joe Biden with the auto pen. No arrests for any of this crooked ass shit going on This motherfucker, he won't even investigate his own assassination attempt. A kid with a rifle climbs up onto the roof of a fucking building 100 yards away from the president with a rifle. That doesn't happen unless the Secret Service let him do it. But we're not going to investigate that. If you're such a fucking sold out piece of shit that you won't investigate your own assassination attempt and get to the bottom of that, then what the fuck do you think he's going to do for you or me or any of us? He's not. He's just another stupid billionaire piece of shit who's going to run this country into the fucking ground even worse than it was before he took over. Don't believe me? Come back in about 3 more years and see where we're at. I'll be waiting. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, you got me on a little kick there. So yeah, there's a bunch of comments, but it all kind of goes to like, you know, that. Oh, and so like, you can still be grateful. Even though we live in this crazy ass world. I think this leads into the next thing I was going to talk about perfectly. You know, like I said, I'm irritated that my car won't work, but I'm grateful to have a car. You know, I'm still a lot. I'm doing things that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have that car. I can go grocery shopping and get whatever I want. I went to Home Depot today and got some stuff that I needed. I got to go to Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday. I got to go to Thanksgiving dinner yesterday. I got to work a night shift without having to ride my bike home at 11 o'clock at night, getting home at like 1 a.m. if I had to ride a bicycle. You know, I could come up with a bunch of different things than just the car. Even my jalopy car that's messed up, I'm still able to do things I couldn't do before. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not all bad. And every single entry in the Jesus Calling book is for Thanksgiving week. So it's kind of boring in that respect, but at the same time, it still fits with what I'm going through. And if I went back to, you know, September 26th, which was Wednesday, that was the day that I was really freaking out about, because I knew I was expecting my car to not start when I got out of work that day. And it says, you know, this is the day that I have made. As you rejoice in this day of life, it will yield up to you precious gifts and beneficial training. Walk with me along the high road of Thanksgiving, and you will find all the delights I have made ready for you. To protect your thankfulness, you must remember that you reside in a fallen world, where blessings and sorrows intermingle freely. A constant focus on adversity defeats many Christians. They walk through a day that is brimming with beauty and brightness, seeing only the grayness of their thoughts. Neglecting the practice of giving thanks has darkened their minds. How precious are my children who remember to thank me at all times. They can walk through the darkest days with joy in their hearts because they know that the light of my presence is still shining on them. Rejoice in this day that I have made, for I am your steadfast companion. And so this was the part that stood out to me. I mean, it was half of the entry, but to protect your thankfulness, you must remember that you reside in a fallen world. We've just spent the last 20 minutes talking about the fallen world, where blessings and sorrows intermingle freely. We all have free will. So God can jump in and do a bunch of good things in our lives, but human beings have their own free will. So some asshole can come along and fuck it up for you. You know, a bunch of bean counters at Volkswagen decided to cheap out on some parts, and now my car's having a problem, you know. In my Jeep Liberty, every problem I ever had with my Jeep Liberty was solely because every single time that car broke was because Chrysler put in a piece of plastic where there should be metal, and the piece of plastic broke. One time, my transfer case for my four-wheel drive, the cable, when I pulled up the cable to shift into four-wheel drive, it was a manual lever, it snapped, and the lever just went back and forth and it wouldn't shift. At least it wasn't stuck. in 4-wheel drive, it would have been worse. But when no mechanic would touch it. My regular mechanics all refused to even touch it. I took it to a transmission shop. The part that broke was a washer, a plastic washer. It cost 50 cents. 50 cents for the washer, and it was $450 labor because they had to rip apart the whole inside of the vehicle just to get to where the washer was to replace the washer. So for a 50-cent, I had to pay $450 to replace a piece of plastic. And if they had made it out of metal, a washer, for crying out fucking loud, a 50-cent piece of plastic that could have been a 60-cent washer made out of metal, the metal one would have never broke the whole life of the vehicle, but the plastic ones break all the time. This is the shit that they do. So we live in a fallen world where we have a bunch of scumbag billionaires who rape kids on private islands, and they purposely build your car to fall apart in 5 years when the car could easily be built to last 1,000,000 miles. And we live in a fallen world. Blessings and sorrows. So Jesus can do a bunch of good things in your life, but some asshole's going to show up and fuck your day up regardless. Blessings and sorrows will intermingle freely. And if we didn't have free will as people, then we would just be a bunch of puppets. And, loving somebody wouldn't matter if you didn't have hate to go with it, because if we were all forced to love each other, then it wouldn't be real. You can't have the love without the hate. You can't have light unless there's darkness. So you won't know what light is unless you know what it's like to be dark. So that's why we have our free will, but then that's why the world is so fucked up. So God can come in. Jesus came in the flesh, healed the sick, raised people from the dead, did all that, fed 4,000 people with 2 fish and a loaf of bread, and all these other miracles. And what did they do? They fucking killed him. Fuck you, Jesus. Like, that's what they did to him. if that's what they're going to do to him, what do you think they're going to do to you? So, Jesus can do whatever. He can fix all this, but in order to fix it, he'd have to take away your free will. He wants you to come to meet him out of your own free will, and that would be impossible if he took away all the evil in the world, because you would just do it. You wouldn't have the free will to do it anymore. You'd just do it because it's the way the world works. And so that's the best way I can explain it. But it's totally true that a constant focus on adversity defeats many Christians as they walk through a day that's brimming with beauty and brightness and only see the grayness of their thoughts. I can be pissing and moaning about my car all day when it's 95 degrees outside, instead of saying, you know what, it's 95 degrees outside and the sun's out and there's no clouds in the sky. And I kid you not, I don't think I've ever seen a chemtrail here in Houston since I've lived here. Maybe one streak. I don't know if Texas put the kibosh on chemtrails, but I don't see chemtrails in Houston. I never see the crisscross pattern in the sky where you can't see the sun anymore because they sprayed so much shit in the air. It can be overcast here from time to time, but I don't see chemtrails, and it's usually blue skies and sun and beautiful weather, and it's nice and hot or warm, and it's just, I don't know, the weather's great. And so, like, even if I'm in a bad mood, all I got to do is go outside and walk to the mailbox. I can walk to the mailbox and just walk into the mailbox and back when it's 90 degrees outside. I'm like, this ain't bad for Thanksgiving weather. Let's look at what's going on in Jamestown right now. Oh, yeah. 10 feet of snow yesterday. Yeah, I don't miss that shit. So there's something to be thanked that. Right there. A day that it's brimming with beauty and brightness. I get a little irritated because, we had to set the clocks back and it's dark at 5 o'clock. But, I could go out and go for a walk in the park. I could do, I can take time. I haven't, but I could take time to go out and enjoy nature again and start doing that. And that would have an amazing effect on me. I'm having time management problems these days. I can't do. So that's part of the video series that I'm going to work on as I figure this out. My ultimate goal being to have 6 income streams that make 6 figures each. And that's just because it sounds good. 6 figures each, 6 income streams. It's like a hydra with 6 heads. You cut one head off, you can't defeat me at that point. If I had one job that made 600 grand a year, you could cut my head off in one chop and I'd lose everything. I'd lose my home. I'd lose everything again. But if I have 6 income streams that each pay a little bit towards the whole, you cut one head off. By the time you get all 5 of the other heads cut off, I've already grown 3 new heads. And so you can't defeat me. And so it's going to take a lot longer to do that. But I'm going to document, I think I'm going to like document that process. Like, how am I going to get there? Because I don't even know. So I'll document it because some of the things that I know work. Because I've done things in the past and I've had a level of success, maybe not as successful as others, but I've been able to do things in my life that nobody thought I could. And there are reasons for it that I'm going to document and I'm going to try to use again. So I think it'll be good. And that's part of the reason why I got the microphone, the camera, the light, because it's going to be me talking to the camera, but mixing it in with video clips, screen sharing, and some other things. But it's something I can do at my desk. I also want to do stuff like action camera footage and stuff. I want to use that new camera I got, but I haven't been riding my bike. And to just ride my bike to work is hard enough. To film it, that's like a whole nother level. It's like Survivor Man, that guy on Discovery Channel who used to go out into the wilderness, but he had to film it. He used to talk about that in his show, Survivor Man guy. He would say, you know what? He'd be like, it's hard enough coming out here and surviving in the wilderness for 2 weeks with nothing but a butter knife and a match, but imagine having to do that and film the whole thing. Like, there'd be a shot of him walking into the sunset, right, as part of the show. But then at the blooper reel or whatever, they show him walking off into the sunset. And then he turns around and he has to come back and get the fucking camera. Because he had to set up a tripod, turn on the camera, walk off into the sunset to get the walking off into the sunset shot. And now he's got to turn around and go get the camera, take the camera off the tripod, charge the fucking batteries. How's he doing that? I don't even know. So he's carrying around all this camera gear and having to film this whole thing. Oh yeah, and I've got to find some bugs to eat today. And I got to scrape the moss off of a rock to make some sort of weird blanket out of, and all this stuff. I mean, he had to do all that stuff and film it all. The and film it all adds it makes it 3 times harder. It's hard enough to just do the thing, but to film it and do the thing all yourself, that's beyond me. That's why I have a lot of respect for that guy versus some of the other survival guys like Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls will go out into the wilderness and pretend to survive, and then he'd take a helicopter back to a hotel for the night, and then he'd fly back out to the wilderness the next day and get dropped off where he was the day before and start back up on his survival journey. It was all bullshit and fake, but the Les Stroud, he was real. He was doing it. He was dropped off with a helicopter with a bunch of cameras and some fucking, and a pocket knife and a piece of lint and 2 sticks to rub together to make a fire. And that's it. Good luck, homie. And I don't know how to do that. But he had already made some money in filmmaking and such that he had done something similar to that with his wife and documented it and made some money off of there's a history to that guy. He didn't just show up on the scene in one day. So anyway, this week I was focused a little bit on adversity, like the thing said, because of the car problems and the fact that I've got to go to Thanksgiving. I got to work this Wednesday night shift I'm not usually working, Monday, Wednesday. Then I got to work tomorrow on Saturday, plus Thanksgiving. There's just a lot going on this week, and part of me just wanted to stay home and just chill. And but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because I had a good time. and it was good to go out and hang out with friends and not be alone. I'm not a big holidays guy, but you know, it's just I don't know. I have had a hard time focusing this week though because of all the stuff going on. Um, just dwelling on all these different things and just feeling overwhelmed a little bit here and there. Um, you know, but that thing it says protect your thankfulness. You must remember that you reside in a fallen world where blessings and sorrows intermingle freely, and a constant focus on the adversity defeats many Christians. Once again, we live in that fallen world. There's always going to be something messed up for you to dwell on. I guarantee you, if I get my car fixed and there's no problems with the car for the next year, immediately, like within a day, I will find something new to latch on to be all worried about and pissed off about. I will. I know I will. I don't even know what it is, but I'll find something. I'll find some other problem, and it'll be like it'll take over my mind if it gets to a certain level, and I'll make that my new focus. And so it's like I'm trying to break free from that mentality and to you know, I'm just trying to break free from that, but it's hard this time of year. I'm not a big fan of the holidays. Just, you know, you can and this goes back to when I was young, like in my teenage years. You can call me the Grinch. I don't like the holidays. I don't like this time of year. Never. I haven't since probably once you're 12 years old and you're not getting when you're a kid, you get presents, and that's not even the right reason to be happy about this time of year. I'm just not. But sometime as a teenager, I got over it, and I just don't. I hate November and December. It's like the worst part of the year. But January and February also suck because that's the worst weather. And winter doesn't bother me. The weather, when I lived up north, November and December's weather, even though it was becoming winter, Jamestown's got like 10 feet of snow or whatever. I really didn't start to wear down from the weather until January and February. And by the end of February, I'm miserable. It got to the point where I purposely would take a trip down south, driving anything to get away from it. And I would wait until I would look at like Florida, because even in Florida, you can go down to Tampa and it's 40 degrees. Miami, the Keys, you might get into the 60s, but I would wait until like that first, is it February or March? I would wait until I could take a trip down south, and I would escape for a week or two just to get the sun again, because winter drove me so crazy up north. And it just got worse every year with the weather. But November and December, the weather hadn't really it took time to sink in. 2 months of winter I can handle if it comes back. But 4 months out of the year to bitter cold is too much, because it's pretty much like Jamestown, New York is like 9 months of winter, 1 month of spring, 1 month of summer, 1 month of fall, and back to winter. But the 4 months of actual winter are brutal up there. And I can't, it gets to the point where like when you're like, when it's 40 degrees for the high, and you're like, thank God it's 40 degrees today. I couldn't wait for it to, thank God it's so warm now and it's 40 degrees is the high. And you're happy about how warm it is. That's miserable. That's miserable. And so Houston's got me in that respect. I'm good. And then it sucks on top of the holidays plus the bad weather. They plunge all of us into living in darkness for 4 straight months by changing the clocks. And I'm guarantee you that the people that run this country, the whole reason they decided to do that in the first place was to make people depressed and live in darkness for the 4 hardest months of the year to get through, winter. The idea being that when you get to the worst, hardest to survive and depressing part of the year, they can just stick it to you even harder. And they usually do the worst things to us during the winter. You know, they're going to collapse the economy in the winter more than they collapse it in the summer, because they want to just stick it to you as hard as they can. But I don't like the cold. The older I get, the worse the cold affects me. Like I was saying, I'm never going to be one of those Southern people that have to wear an Eskimo coat when it's 70 degrees outside. I mean, I can handle the cold, but when it gets below 32, I fall apart instantly. Like when water freezes, I freeze. Even if I'm in a heated building and there's something about it when it's that cold outside, I can't even be in a heated building and be comfortable. It's just something about the air. I don't know. I don't even really know what it is. But like everything's closed for the holidays. That was inconvenient. Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July are the 3 big holidays where everything is closed. Everything. So if you need something on one of those days, you're screwed. And it's only for one day. So, do you really, is there ever a need that you have that bad that, when businesses are closed for that day, it's going to affect you? But I would have been able to get my car fixed this week if the garage was open on Thanksgiving Day. But I'm not opposed to people going to get a day off to spend with their families. And in some companies and some jobs, it's the only time you can have a break. These slave driving shit jobs, the holidays, the Christmas and Thanksgiving, that's the only time you get a day off in some cases. So I'm not opposed to Walmart being closed for a day. But there are always people that would be willing to work on those days, because in a lot of these companies, people will make double or triple what they get, like time and a half to double or triple pay to work a holiday. Like I know that the prison guards would get, prison guards get a good dollar working the holidays because they can claim they get double or triple pay for working on those holidays. And because they can claim that they're short staffed, they keep the entire jail or prison locked down for the whole day. So the prisoners, it's the most miserable day of the year because you're not going to be allowed out of your cell, because the whole jail will be on lockdown because there's only a handful of guards working. And so if you're one of the guards working that day, that's an easy day for you. You don't got to break up any fights or deal with any bullshit. You sit at a desk all day and get paid triple your pay. A lot of people will sign up for that. So there's no reason that some of these businesses need to close on those days, because not everybody celebrates these holidays. It's not like everybody in America is a Christian. I ran into occasions throughout my life where if a major holiday means everything's going to be closed, it actually had an impact on me. One time I was talking about having 3 simultaneous flat tires on a vehicle on the 4th of July. And I got lucky and was able to get tires that day at Walmart, but nothing else was open. I could have been really screwed. And because 4th of July was on a Saturday, I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it until Monday. And I mean, there's been times because of my life. There's been a few times I've spent Christmas alone, because my kids would be at their parents' house and I didn't have plans to go to my family or whatever. Or maybe I was going to visit my family the day or two after Christmas with my kids or whatever. There are times where I'm home alone on Christmas Day. And the fact that everything is closed, I can't even go out and grab a bite to eat somewhere or just something to make the day better. There were times, this is before Netflix and all that, there were times where I would go out to a store that sells movies and I would buy I would look at the runtime on everything I bought, whether it was a series of TV shows or a movie or a series or whatever it was. And I would make sure that I have 120 hours of content to watch. I would just buy a stack of DVDs. That way, if I'm stuck at home with nothing to do, I can kick back and watch something entertaining for 120 hours. That's going to get you through a whole weekend. If that's all you do, you won't even go through that much in a weekend. But that week between Christmas and New Year, if I didn't have much going on, I go, I'll veg out and watch this, or I'll watch that, or I'll chill. I mean, I'm never really bored, but it was more like a guarantee of just something to take your mind off of things. And, sometimes on the flip side, I would have a significant other during the holidays, but the girl would be completely into it, and I'd have to be dragged out to do all these things that I don't want to do. Like going to drag a tree into the house, or all these dumb things that you're supposed to do that I don't like. And I remember one time I was on the outs with a girlfriend, but I had to go and do all the holiday bullshit with her family, even though everybody knew we were pretty much wrapping this relationship up. And I'm like, I would have rather been home watching DVDs for the week than having to go do all this dumb family stuff with a family that wasn't even mine, and a girl that I wasn't going to be with by the time February got here. Valentine's Day, it was over. So why am I getting dragged into all this crap now? I'm the Grinch, Let me live my life. Not everybody out there. All I'm going to say is, everybody's got these preconceived ideas of what the holidays are supposed to be and whatnot, but not everybody has a freaking Norman Rockwell painting for the holidays every year. This is the expectation of what it's supposed to be, but not everybody has that. And so the obligations, these so-called obligations, I just had this conversation with a friend of mine last week. He doesn't like it either because he's just like, all these sheep are programmed that you're supposed to do you're supposed to eat turkey on Thanksgiving Day and sit at a big table with all these people. And on Christmas Day, you're supposed to have a tree in your house and blah, 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 and all this and that. And I'm like, really? You're supposed to do all that? You can't just... All the best holidays I've ever had have been very low key. Just chilling with people that I'm close to. Could just be me and my kid, or me and my kids, or me and a significant other and the kids, and just low key staying at home, cooking good food, spending time together, and just hanging out and having a good time. Low key, no crazy expectations, no running around like crazy, having to entertain for 50 different people, all that stuff. And it's just, it is what it is. But I don't like the obligations that come with this time of year. Right after Devil's Night, Halloween, it all begins. You got to put up your lights and your Christmas garbage just to take it back down again. And if you're unlucky enough to have a wife, you got to deal with her nagging you to go drag a fucking tree into your house and put all these dumbass decorations on it just so you can spend another day of your life tearing it all down and cramming it in boxes again so you could do it all again next year. And it's like, I talk to a lot of people, and most of them will tell me, because they know I'm a real guy and I won't blab to the other people, that they hate this time of year just like me. And it's, the stress of all the dumb shit you're supposed to do makes people go crazy. And then they wake up on the holiday that you're supposed to enjoy, and they're not even able to enjoy it because they have this preconceived idea of how things are supposed to go or how things are supposed to be. And then if they feel like something is wrong, if it doesn't go the way the TV told you that it's supposed to go, if you don't have the Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving or Christmas painting, then you're miserable that whole day. And I'm just like, why do I have to be stressed out to go buy a bunch of presents for a bunch of people that I'm going to spend a day with? Because if I don't, then I'm going to be a douchebag, and it probably won't be something that they want to get. And in return, I'm going to get something I don't like from them. And then we're all going to go, yay, we changed gifts. So I spent $30 and got something for somebody that they don't like, and somebody gave me something I don't like, and they spent $30 on it. Why couldn't we just hang out? Why can't we just get together and hang out and eat some food, have a few drinks, and laugh? Why has it got to be this whole fucking agenda with all this dumb shit you're supposed to do? That's what I'm getting at. And why does it have to be on this day? Why can't it just be a random Saturday sometime we all get together? Like, why does it have to be this specific day? So, and like I said, man, some of the best holidays of my memory, I'm thinking of one right now. I'm not going to talk about it for a lot of reasons, but I had a very good Christmas that I can remember recently, because it was just hanging out at home and having a good time and cooking good food. We made freaking cheeseburgers. We made cheeseburgers for Christmas because that's what we wanted to eat. We went out, we got some good booze, we made some good drinks, we had lots of treats, we had snacks, we made homemade French fries, sweet potato fries, cheeseburgers, we had some salads and stuff. We had it all. And we just hung out and watched movies and just chilled out. And we had a great time. That is cool. It wasn't this big production thing that people got to put on. And like I'm just saying. And the thing with Christmas, it's supposed to be about the birth of Jesus, right? But it's not. There's nothing about Jesus in America Christmas anymore. Unless you go to church on Christmas Day, then you might hear a story or two about Jesus. But otherwise, ain't nothing about Jesus going on in the holidays. And Jesus wasn't even fucking born on Christmas. The Bible doesn't really say, but scholars generally believe that Jesus was born in the spring. And a lot of people say it was on April Fool's Day, which is why we call it April Fool's Day to this year, because they got most of the Christian retards celebrating the birth of Jesus on a satanic pagan Roman holiday and doing all the stupid satanic shit that the Romans did to celebrate their pagan holiday, like dragging a fucking tree into your house. Dragging a tree into your house, what does that have to do with Jesus? That's what I'm getting at. And I'm always the damn Grinch. I'm always the Grinch when I don't want to do this shit. This is me. This is who I am, according to, like I refused to lie to my kids about Santa Claus. I just wouldn't. I never went along with it. I did go along with it one time because my uncle used to dress up as Santa Claus. He was the fire chief in our town, and he would go around the whole town, going to all the kids' houses, pretending to be Santa Claus, and he's really good at it. And it's just a thing. It's a thing in the town. And so he came and I got a picture of my daughter sitting on his lap, but even my daughter, when he left, she's like, I think that's Uncle Dan. And I didn't like argue with her, because I think Santa Claus is bullshit. I just think it's stupid. So I don't teach my kids Santa Claus. But I didn't like get into fights about it in front of the whole family. Like if my mom wants to tell my kids about Santa Claus, fine. I'm not going to be the asshole that starts an argument at the dinner table, but I'm not participating in this shit. When I put presents under the tree, Daddy bought those. Daddy got you these gifts. Fuck Santa Claus. He didn't do that. I'm taking the credit where the credit's due. I didn't tell my kids about the Easter bunny and all that dumb shit. I'd give my kids some candy on Easter or a gift, usually a gift, but they knew it. I handed it to them. I'd be like, here, I just got you this. I don't like these dumb things. And the thing that's funny, in my opinion, that would become a point of contention in relationships that I've been in, because the women always want to do this. And they're like, oh my God, it's the holidays. How could you be such a Grinch and all this and that? And I'm like, because it's stupid. That's why. And that would be a point of contention in certain relationships. If the woman wants to do it and you don't, well, guess who's not getting any pussy for a week? Or at least, there's going to be some issues there. So I still won't cave in. I'm not pussy whipped. I don't, you're not going to control me. So if it is what it is, but we can compromise. We can come to some agreement in the middle, but I'm not teaching my kids about Santa Claus. And the funniest thing about it is when I tell Christian women especially, that you're wondering why your kids don't believe in Jesus anymore after they grow up, maybe it's because you filled their heads with all this bullshit about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. And then at some point you told them it was all bullshit and make-believe and lies. Oh, but all that stuff I told you about Jesus, that's real. And you wonder why your kids don't believe in it anymore. It's because you filled them with a bunch of bullshit and lies. Well, once again, it's bah humbug, Adam, you Grinch. It's like, why do you think they call him Santa Claus? He dresses in a red outfit just like Satan. He breaks into your house in the middle of the night to steal cookies and milk off of your table and leave presents under your tree to make you all materialistic. And if you don't get the right presents, you're going to be mad. Like, maybe that's how Satan, you can't spell his name without the same letters that you use to spell Santa. Just rearrange 3 letters in Santa and it turns into Satan. And maybe Santa Claus is how Satan gets his claws into your children. You tell your children that Satan or Santa Claus isn't real. Satan got his claws into your kids, and now they won't believe in Jesus because they don't know what the fuck is real and what's not, because you filled their head with so much dumbass bullshit about Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, and everything else under the sun, that why the hell would they believe in Jesus and God? And then you call me bah humbug and the Grinch and all these other things because I don't want to go along with it. So Christian women have called me a big asshole because I don't want to do the Christmas stuff. And then I'll heaven forbid I say something like, well, what does dragging a tree into your house have to do with Jesus? How dare you? All right, you dumb cunt. Don't come crying to me when your kids tell you that Jesus isn't real and your little boy decides to cut his dick off and run around in a dress. I tried to tell you, but the messenger is always the asshole, not the people who did it to you. Yeah, Santa ran a sweatshop. How did I forget about that? With a bunch of slaves making toys all year. Yeah. Oh my goodness, dude. And but I'm the messenger, so I'm the asshole, not the people that did it to you. I mean, look at happened what I'm basically just like Jesus, right? Look what happened to Jesus, the messenger. He was the messenger, God in the flesh, who came down here to tell us who God is and what God is like by, like I said, healing the sick, raising the dead back to life, walking on water, feeding 4,000 people with a loaf of bread and a couple of fish. And for fuck's sake, he even turned water into wine. All you dumb alcoholics should love Jesus for that. He turned water into wine so you could all get drunk at the wedding. But no. What did you all do? You hung him up on a fucking board with nails through his arms and legs and let him hang there and die for it. But the people who were the real assholes of his time, they got to keep on keeping on. The guy who came to point out who all the assholes were, the messenger, you all said he was the asshole and you hung him up on a board to die. And then you killed him. So, the messenger always gets the worst treatment. Not the people that fuck the kids on Epstein Island. They're keeping on, they're still banging kids. They might have to do it in a basement somewhere now instead of a glorious temple on top of a private island. They might have to go underground because people are watching them now. But they're still doing it. But they all call me an asshole. They don't call Prince Andrew the asshole for fucking 14-year-old girls and raping them. But they call me an asshole when I talk about it all the time. Shut up, asshole. I don't want to talk about that. Well, what if that was your daughter? Would you still want me to shut the fuck up and not? What if it was your daughter that got raped by Prince Andrew and I told you to shut the fuck up? We don't want to talk about that. Would you be cool with that if I told you to shut the fuck up if it was your own kid? So, I don't know, man. As usual, I've got a lot I could talk about. Tons more. I got slides, too. But at some point, if I go through all this, we're here for another 2 hours. I'll bring up one thing. Because I keep talking about how, so like I said, I'm going to do a video series about executing Order 66, and what it's all about is going from cell block 6 to making 6 figures, and going from making 6 figures to having 6 income streams that make 6 figures each. And how am I going to do that? So I'm kind of I'm playing around with the thumbnail format, and I'm trying to figure out some things, like just they're going to be 5 to 15 minutes long each, capped at 15 minutes. I mean 15:00:00 minutes. I will never make it go longer than that, because I want it to be short attention span theater for the YouTube crowd. I probably won't swear. It will be more scripted out. And I already know like what the first few episodes are going to be about. And it's just going to be like documenting pretty much like I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to document what I'm doing to get there. And kind of in a way that I'm going to give you a system to follow, and you don't have to follow it. I am stealing a system from somebody else that I stole from somebody, but turned it into my own thing. And the thing so Blue Sky, if I can do a 5-minute, if I need to make it 15 or if I 15 minutes. So if I need it to be an hour, it'll be like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Each one will be 15 minutes, and I'll just string them together. I got to do it short because they're going to be edited. And so I got to come up with an editing style so I can bang these things out once a week without spending inordinate amount of time on it. I should be able to bang out one of these episodes in less time than it takes me to do the live stream, and we're on 3 hours for the live stream. I should be able to make a 15-minute video in 3 hours, beginning to end. But I got to come up with a system that allows me to do that and put a little professionalism. I'm getting there. I'm working on this. But it's going to be scripted out. So I'm going to read. I'm literally going to read almost a script. Probably the way I do with these live streams, where I have some notes in front of me, but I'm just kind of like they're in front of me, but I just kind of go off and do my own thing at the same time. But 15 minutes max for each video so that I can do it. Because if each one ends up being 3 hours edited, it'll take 20 hours to edit one. So I don't have that. And the way I've got it in my mind, how I can break it down 10, 15 minutes each one. Give you like one step. I'm going to give you things to do that I'm doing. And kind of we can do this together. It's kind of like the whole point is that I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to say you don't have to do it exactly the way I'm doing it. I stole the method that I'm going to use from somebody else of how to organize my thoughts on this. But I changed it around to suit my own. I changed it a lot. I took something somebody gave me. I thought this is really good, but I'm going to do it a little bit different. And I'm going to show you that you can do what I'm doing, but do it in your own way. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I'm doing it, but you'll see what I'm talking about when I put out a video. Basic, like my biggest problem right now is I want to do 150 things, and we can't the only thing we can't have more of in our life is time. And so how do you manage your time, and how do you prioritize these things? And so I'm just going to make it real small, digestible chunks. I'm going to tell you the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is come up with 50 things, a list of 50 things that you want in your life, and do it in a certain way. But it's literally just going to be one video about that, 5 to 15 minutes long. And here's all the different tools you can use: Notion, Google Docs, Evernote, Workflowy, ClickUp, Trello. Those are 6 free. All of them are free. So I'll give you like a bunch of free tools that you can use. You can use Microsoft Word. I would recommend doing it digitally instead of writing it down on paper, because you're going to want to move things around, and it's a living document that you're going to change all the time, and you're going to look at, and you're going to reprioritize it over and over and over and over. It's never going to be complete. It's just going to be a kind of like I was talking about. You go into it with a plan, but you can rip up the plan and change it at any time if it's not going to plan. And if there's some other circumstance or whatever, you might have a goal today. A year from now, you might not care about it anymore or even want the goal. And there might be 3 new things you want instead. So it's kind of like that. That's a preview of it. And so it's in my head. I got to put it out. I just got to set up my little space here a little better. And I don't need to do much to do the first one. Get a little intro jingle, thumbnail format figured out, all that kind of stuff. But I was talking about, I love using this example of, the cat. So yeah, I mean, I thought I was sharing my screen, but these were the thumbnails for the series. The series that I'm working on, Order 66, and I'm just trying to figure out how much type to put on a thumbnail. But this is basically it, from cell block 6 to 6 figures. I love using this example of if a cat can make $200 million with movies and books and Grumpy Cat, Grumpachino coffee drink, and all these other things, then there's no reason why none of us can. We all have this at our fingertips. And there's a girl that made money selling farts in a jar. She sold farts in a jar. Her name was Stephanie Motto. She was a TikToker and some sort of reality TV star. And she made headlines in 2021 for selling jars of her farts on some website. She priced them at $500 to $1,000 a jar, and her first batch of 97 jars sold out instantly at $500 each. So the first day that she put up jars of farts for sale, she made $48,500. And then demand surged, leading her to produce up to 50 jars a week. I mean, she was probably spending a lot of that money on beans and cabbage and who knows what. But and then you can write them up, like beans and cabbage and big gallon jugs of milk and anything that make you fart. Now it's a business expense. So, I mean, you can write off your groceries at that point. She'd made 97 jars of farts in 2 days at one point, but then she was she was hospitalized with severe gas pains mimicking a heart attack, forcing her to retire from the fart business in early 2022. But This chick made $200,000 selling farts in a jar. Earlier reports noted that she had earned $100,000 midway through the whole thing. And then at least 3 other women have gained money, significant wealth, 6-figure earnings by selling jars of farts since this girl did it. This one chick sold out her initial batch of farts at $300 a jar in 2024. She made over $1 million selling farts in a jar. Some other chick made 150 large for some farts in a jar. A top earning female streamer called Cutie Patootie branded her custom branded fart jars. And now she's got $20 million in the bank now for selling farts in a fucking jar. So, I mean, now I fully understand that selling farts in a jar kind of goes with the territory of being a hot chick for a living. You know, there's a lot of options available for hot chicks to make ridiculous amounts of money for doing absolutely nothing useful. That things that are not available to a man or girls who are ugly. I mean, I had a girlfriend once who wanted to try and sell her used panties to perverts on the internet. And turns out, I found out by dating her that I'm actually more of a traditional guy, and I really would not be into having a girlfriend who sells her dirty underwear on the internet to perverts to make money. I really did. I wasn't down with that. I dated another girl, in fact, more than one, who wanted me to take her to the strip club. And I was like, no, I don't want to go to the strip club. And both of the times, or this happened more than once. And the same thing. Oh my God, what the fuck, Adam? When your girlfriend asks you if you want to go to a strip club with her, you're supposed to say yes. What kind of idiot are you? And I'm like, I don't want to pay to go throw money at some skank just to have her rub her dirty ass pussy in my face when I could do that for free at home. And imagine how that went. But I'm just saying, like, it's not my type. Like, these kind of girls, these modern girls they're not my type of girl. That's just not what I want. You think on the surface that would be a fun girl to have in your life. That girl's the alcoholic, and that girl is not going to be fun. She might be fun to go out with a couple times, but she's not the girl you want to have your mom meet, or she's not the girl you want to spend the holidays with. I'm just saying, it's not my type. I found out the hard way. In fact, I found out at least 3 or 4 times. I found out the hard way over the years, and that's just not who you want to be with. I had a girl ask me once if it would be okay with me if she slept with other women. And so I asked her, I said, all right, is it okay if I sleep with other women? Because I'm like, you know what, at the time and the way this relationship was, I was like, all right, if that's the rules, let's do it. But that pissed her off. And I was like, you're mad. You're the one that asked me this question, and now you're mad at the answer I gave you. I'm like, are you going to be bringing some leftovers home for me after you go out to eat? Or are you just going to finish your whole plate and leave me out of this? Like, how does this work? You get to go do whatever the fuck you want, and I got to stay home and play Xbox while you're out banging some chick? Like, what are we doing here? Like, how does this work? And then she got real jealous, and then she started getting bitchy about how I'd be willing to cheat on her. And if she sleeps with other women, that's not cheating because she's not out there getting other dick. And I'm like, well, I'm not attracted to cock and buttholes, So what am I supposed to do? Stay home and play video games while you're out banging some girl? Like, but if I was cheating on you with a guy, that would be fine. Like, I'm just like, you know what? These modern relationships, I don't fucking want anything to do with this shit. These women, I can't fucking stand them. I can't stand women anymore. I'm not attracted to dudes, but I have absolutely like no desire. I have not been chasing girls at all since I got out of prison. I just have no, I am so turned off by women these days that I'm just like, I may as well go join a fucking monastery and be a monk at this point, because I don't want it. I don't want these fucking women. They're terrible. I mean, so like, I knew another girl, or I knew another girl who wanted me to take photos of her feet so she could sell them to creeps on OnlyFans. Or I think actually she said there was an OnlyFans like website, but it was just for pictures of feet. And I'm like, what? Only feet? Is that what it's called? Like, I don't know, like foot long. I don't know what's it called. Like, I mean, but hot chicks can make money just for being a stupid hot whore. So there's a lot of things that are available if you're a hot chick, like selling farts in a jar and dirty panties, that are just not available for a guy like me. That's just not even on the table. I mean, can I sell pictures of my cock? Can I just sell pictures of my dick? No face attached, so I don't gotta, so they're not gonna come back to haunt me. Could I make 500 grand selling pictures of my dick? I mean, if I could make 500 grand in a summer selling pictures of my dick, or lift heavy boxes and bags of flour at a bakery for 24 years to make 500 large, I think I could I'd rather sell pictures of my dick, if I'm being honest. Jesus might have a problem with that, but this is a hypothetical situation. I wouldn't have to lift heavy bags of flour all day and bang out 600 pie crusts in an afternoon if I just took a few pictures down there and put them up on the internet. But if you're not a hot chick, those kinds of things aren't really, I mean, can dick pics be one of my 6 income streams that make 6 figures? A dick pic 6. I don't know. Like that, there's a title right there for one of my 66 episodes. I don't know. All I'm saying is that there's some ridiculous things that you can do to make money that may not be available to you because you're not in a certain club. You don't look a certain way. You're not a hot chick who can just be a dumb bimbo and get rich for being a stupid whore. But the one thing that you can never get back that you put out there is your time. Unless you have a DeLorean with a flux capacitor. But, otherwise there's no going back to the future, And it's very, very difficult to sell your time for money. If all you're doing is selling your time for money, a service-based business or working at a job, punching a time clock, making a salary, whatever it is, exchanging your time for money directly, it can only take you so far. I mean, you can make a lot. But selling a product and diversifying and doing different things, it works out better. I'm trying to do both. I've already got ways to sell my time for money, but I have things available like my photography designs. I can make merchandise. I can do different things that I'm not doing right now. Things like if you make one viral video on YouTube can make you $1 million if you do it. If you get one that sticks, people, if you get one of these videos that 20 million people watch over a span of 5 years, you're making money off of one video for years and years and years, and it just keeps coming. And people are doing it. I mean, people have done it. I'm not saying I will. I'm just saying people do. So it's out there. It's a possibility. You don't even have to be a hot chick. I mean, there's people making millions of dollars on YouTube putting out garbage AI videos with an AI voice and an AI generated video with a bunch of AI generated words on the screen that they don't even make themselves. They pretty much automate the whole thing, put up some dumb bullshit channel, and just start churning money off of it. I don't want to. I'm not doing that. That's not. I don't have like. I don't want to do that. But people are, and some people are making tons of money, and I've researched how much money they make doing it. It's crazy. It's just not for me. But like, I'll just leave it with this. You know, Mike, if you work hard enough and you sell your time for money, you could be like Michael Jordan. You know, Michael Jordan, the basketball superstar, best basketball player that ever lived. He dedicated his entire life for a number of years to a sport in exchange for so much money that his great-great-great-grandchildren will never have to work a day in their lives. Right now, Michael Jordan's worth $3.5 billion, billion with a B. He makes $300 million per year. Now, if you break that down, Michael Jordan makes $300 million a year. He makes $822,000 per day. Every day. Every day Michael Jordan lives, he isn't working anymore. He hasn't played basketball in years. Every single day he's alive, he makes $822,000. He makes $34,000 per hour. If you break it down to every second, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1. He makes $570 every second of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To make $570, I got to work 57. I have to work 57 hours at the bakery to earn as much money as Michael Jordan earns in 1 second. 57 hours at a bakery to make the same amount of money Michael Jordan makes in 1 second. 1 second. Even at my best job ever, the highest I was ever paid, it would take me 5 hours and 45 minutes to make as much as Michael Jordan makes as 1 second. 5 hours and 45 minutes at the best I've ever been to make what Michael Jordan makes in 1 second. In 5 hours and 45 minutes that it takes me to make as much as Michael Jordan makes in 1 second, Michael Jordan makes $197,000 in that 5 hours and 45 minutes. So in an 8-hour day, every 8 hours, Michael Jordan makes enough money to buy the house that I used to live in Pennsylvania, next to the waterfall with the 2 acres of land and the woods surrounding the house, with cash. Every 8 hours he makes that much. He could make, in one 24-hour day, Michael Jordan could buy 3 houses on my street. By the end of the week, he'd make enough money to buy all the houses on the street and clear all the land and bulldoze everything down and keep the land for himself. And then in another week, he could buy the entire state game lands forest surrounding the house and have, 6,000 acres of land for himself and a nice house next to the waterfall. And then a couple weeks later, he could tear that house down and build a mansion there. And so people can't even comprehend. You can't even comprehend that kind of wealth. Like, it doesn't even compute. Like, young people, when I talk about how I would charge $5,000 for a basic website for a business, they're like, oh my God, why are you charging so much money? I'm like, $5,000 is nothing for a business to pay. At a bakery, when the delivery truck comes to a bakery, you're paying more than $5,000 a week for the ingredients to run your bakery, and that's just the food cost. That's every week. That's not a website that you're going to keep for a couple of years after you paid the $5,000. So when you look at it in the context of what it actually takes to run a business, charging $5,000 for a basic website that you're going to keep for a couple of years and not really need to change it much, if that's, the level of, you're just looking for an online presence that's basic, for about the cost of a week's worth of food cost, that's actually a pretty cheap deal. If you're looking for a really complicated website that, you can do online orders and all that, the website could cost a hell of a lot more if it's going to be a lot more complicated. But I'm just saying, like, for people are like, oh my God, that's so expensive. But it's like, you're talking about business expenses here. You're talking about a business that pays $5,000 to $10,000 a week in food cost alone, ingredients. A restaurant. I know restaurant owners that spend 10 grand a week on the food deliveries. So, but they're making the money back. Money's going this way, that way, up and down, and everywhere you turn around, and some of it's going in his pocket. But it's just the cost of doing business. And so, like, but people can't even comprehend that. And then you talk about Michael Jordan making $34,000 an hour, retired, not doing anything. He hasn't played. He probably hasn't picked up a basketball in 20 years, and he's got a basketball court in his mansion. Well, why would you? I wouldn't. Be like, I've been there, done that. I ain't got nothing to prove. I'm the best basketball player that ever lived. I don't need to pick up a basketball again. I can go fucking do what I want. Make $822,000 per day. And there's 364 more days this year. Like, I make enough money in a day to buy two average American homes every day. Like, and then when you look at Michael Jordan's wealth, he's poor. When you look at like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, those guys, like the Rockefellers, the Mellons, the Soros family, the Carnegies, the Heinz family, all these big money families, these old money families, the Rothschild, like Elon Musk and Bill Gates make Michael Jordan look poor. And then the Rothschild, Nathan Rothschild, makes Elon Musk look like a pauper. Right? So there's like 6 levels above Michael Jordan that make Michael Jordan look like a peasant. Yet Michael Jordan makes $822,000 a day to not work. So, like, can you even comprehend that? Like the volume, like, can that, $570, boom, 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 boom. He just did that 4 times. 5, 6, another 600, 600 more, another 600, boom, again and again. Every second, every time he breathes in, that's $1,500 to $2,000. Another $3,000. And you can't even spend money that fast. If you have as much money as Michael Jordan, and think about it, Nancy Pelosi has $250 million in the bank on $174,000 a year salary in Congress because of all her embezzlement and her insider trading and all the scams that she runs as an elected official. Can you even imagine? Like, your mind cannot comprehend that level of wealth because it's just inconceivable. These people make more money in a week than you'll make in your life. And yet they're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the club that they're in. And 1% of the wealth of the world, or 99% of the wealth in the world. Exactly. I mean, you read my mind, Blue Sky. 99%. So if you're in a room of 100 people and there's $1 to split among you, one person in that room has 99 cents to themselves, so they can make a trip to the dollar store and buy something, and the other 99 people in the room have to split the penny that's left. Like, this can't go on. That's why when you go to the grocery store, you can't even get a basket of food for $100 because these people at the top don't give a fuck. They eat whatever they want, whenever they want. That vice president of Campbell's food, Campbell's soup is for poor people. I don't eat that shit. That's what he said. I don't eat that shit. That's for poor people. That's got like 3D printed meat. It's not even real, and it's a bunch of genetically modified bullshit and poison. Then they fired him but he told the truth. Where's he going to go work now? Is he going to go work for RFK Jr. in the Department of Health? I don't know. But I mean, you might. I'd hire him. If I was RFK Jr., I'd hire him just because he told the truth. But these people don't give a fuck if we all starve to death, because they won't. And they don't care what anything costs. The Beltway in DC. I'll tell this story and then I'm out because it's getting late. I knew I'd go more than 3 hours. I took the Beltway. Big mistake. I was on my way to the Outer Banks in North Carolina to Cape Lookout, 20-mile long sandbar that you have to take a ferry to get to. No roads, no building. There's a couple of buildings, national park kind of buildings, but it's 25-mile long island, and you can camp on it anywhere you want, pretty much. When I went there with this girl, we had a 4-mile stretch of beach all to ourselves for a whole week. Our nearest neighbors were 2 miles south and 2 miles north. So we had a 4-mile stretch of beach to camp, and we were completely alone on an island watching the swimming in the ocean and playing in the water. And but to get there, I should have just scooted down the other side of the mountains in Virginia, and then by the time I got south of Richmond, cut over. But instead, my dumbass GPS, I listened to the GPS, said it would be faster to head down towards DC and go straight down from north of DC down to Richmond and beyond. But that meant going around the Beltway of DC. And we ended up getting to the Beltway around rush hour, and it was bad. And so the peasant lanes, if I stayed in the peasant lane in the we had to go from the north of the Beltway. We basically had to go a half circle around DC on the Beltway from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock on the clock. And so it was going to be 3 hours to get from where we were to get to where we had to be before we could even go south towards Richmond. 3 hours. Or we could get on the HOV lane, which is the toll road lane, but they do this thing called variable toll rate. So there's no fixed toll. The toll changes depending on how much traffic there is. So because we didn't want to wait 3 hours to go 20 miles, we got on the toll lane. Guess what the toll was to go 20 miles? It was like $60. I had to pay a $60 toll to go from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock on the dial halfway around the Beltway in DC to go 20 miles. $60 toll to go 20 miles on a road. So they changed that toll. Sometimes it's only $1 or $2 to go on the toll road part of the Beltway. But when the traffic, the more the traffic jams up, the more they charge for the toll. And there's a reason for that. Now, there was a blizzard a few years back, and all of DC was a mess. Big blizzard, and there were all these people stuck on the road. The toll for the Beltway to go 20 miles was like $190. The toll, they were gouging people who didn't want to wait in a blizzard and get stuck on the highway. Well, if you got $190, you can get on the toll lane and go down the toll road. Who do you think pays? So why do you think they would do that in a place like Washington, D.C., where all the richest people in the world live? Because do you think Nancy Pelosi gives a fuck about $190 toll? Do you think Donald Trump gives a shit about $190 toll? Elon Musk, does he give a shit about $190 toll? Does the girl who made $200 million selling farts in a jar give a crap about a $190 toll? No. They made a road for the rich people so that they don't have to sit in traffic with the peasants. And it doesn't matter what it costs. It could be $500 for a 10-mile drive, and these rich assholes wouldn't care. Because what does $500 cost when you make $570 per second like Michael Jordan? $500 for a toll to go 5 miles is nothing. You don't even care. It's 1 second of your income. Once you had to work for 1 second to earn that $500. But for you and me, the peasants, that's like 2 weeks at the fucking bakery for me. Lost because I had to pay $500 for a toll. So these rich cocksuckers, they're doing this in other cities too, not just DC, but DC is like the prime example where they're making roads just for them. They're making you pay. We are paying, us peasants. They're making the peasants pay the taxes to build these fucking roads so the rich people have their own road that you fucking peasants can't drive on, so they never have to sit in traffic jams and they can get home anytime. You know, they can get to and from without having to wait in traffic with all you fucking scrubs. And this is the world we live in. These are the scumbags that we're letting walk all over us. And but like that's why people are like, you know, I'm $500 to go 20 miles would be fucking ridiculous. Nancy Pelosi, she made that in 5 minutes. She just took a bribe today. Someone gave her $300,000 for a fucking bribe today. And that's just 1 day out of the year. She's getting that every day. So $500 to not have to wait in line with the peasants. Of course she's going to not give a shit. Of course she doesn't care. These people are scum. It's that 1%. Nothing costs too much money when you make that much money. Like, shit, we could get into Taylor Swift and her husband. I still don't think they're going to make it to be married because women don't date down. This guy's only got a couple $100 million and he's not bringing home Super Bowl trophies anymore. And she's a billionaire flying around on a private jet. When her boyfriend needs to fly somewhere, he's got to fly on an airplane with a bunch of peasants, even though he gets to sit in the fancy seat up front. But when that bitch, she might want a frozen hot chocolate at Serendipity in New York City, but she's in Miami. She gets on her own private jet, flies there, goes to get hot chocolate, takes a limo back to the airport, gets on her plane, flies home, and then she gets on TV to tell you all you fucking peasants about how you got to watch your carbon footprint. There's two different clubs. Women don't date down. So she's going to dump that guy. She's got to go out. She got to find some Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, or she'll be with Elon Musk at some point or somebody of that level before she takes that football player home to her mansion. So you watch, you'll see how this goes. But anyway, I think I've talked about enough. We're at like 3.5 hours. I could just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I'm just scrolling through the notes and I'm like, I got 6 more hours here. Just bullet points. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Had a great time. Hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving once again. Live stream on Sunday back to normal for the members only stream will be at 2:00. We'll just go as long as we go. And we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, it's been cool. We've had at least 10, 15 people. That's like 50% more than the Hawk Tua girl gets on her live stream now. So we're moving on up. And with that, I'm going to say peace out, and I hope y'all have a good one.